I swing and I hit him, and I hit him somewhere on the side of his face, and he dropped. And when he dropped, I heard his head hit the ground hard. It hit the ground really hard. It was like, I can still remember the noise, in my head if I just think back to that day. And he hit the ground, and he was just instantly asleep. And so, like I had said, just from being young and dumb, I had been into plenty of fights, and it was just, I never heard that sound before of somebody, hitting the ground.
My guest today was just a teenager when a street fight turned deadly, landing him a 10-year sentence in the Minnesota prison system. Jesse Smithers walks us through how he survived a decade behind bars and what happened when he got out and realized the system still wouldn't let him move forward. Where'd you grow up, Jesse?
I'm from Miami. We moved to Minnesota when I was like 5. And so I grew up in Minnesota.
That's a big difference.
Big difference, yeah.
Why'd they pick Minnesota?
We had family out there. So, and then where we was living at in Florida, it wasn't really a good spot. Out in Miami, it's like, even the bad spots are expensive, like rent, mortgage, whatever. It's expensive out there, just period. So we had family in Minnesota, and that's where we ended up.
Who raised you?
My mom, my grandma, my aunt.
Where was your dad?
He was in the feds. My dad was in the feds for 15 years for drugs.
How old are you when you found out about your dad?
I'll say I was probably like 10 when I started asking about my dad. Like, I used to ask my mom, like, what's my dad look like? And she look in the mirror. Looks just like you. And so I remember we had this mirror where you could it was 3 mirror panels, and you could push the bottom corner, and it opens up into a medicine cabinet. And I used to put my face in it, open up both ends, and close my face in like this. And I'd see just a bunch of million reflections of me, and I'd just stare at it all day, just thinking damn, there's somebody out there that, looks like me. But yeah, I started asking probably around 10 or 11, and then one day I think my mom probably just got tired of me asking her about my dad. So she went on Facebook, and this was kind of when Facebook was really starting to take over from MySpace, and she went on Facebook and started scrolling. And I remember she clicked on this one profile, and it was this guy. He didn't look too good, right? And I was hoping I pray that's not my dad right there. And then she's like, nope, this one ain't him. And then she scrolled down and was like, oh, this is him right here. And that's how I first seen my dad initially. And then we wrote him on Facebook, and, she said, hey, whatever, Shannon, I'm Shannon, and, we have a son. And he instantly, remembered, obviously, and he, ended up sending for me. We got, a DNA test, and then once, it was real, even though he knew I was his kid, but, because we look exactly the same, but once the DNA test and everything was good, then I flew back out to Miami, and I remember it was I was 12, and I got on the plane for the first time, by myself. My mom brought me to the airport, and I went through TSA, did all that by myself, and that's how I met my dad.
So did he just get out of prison at that
Just
point?
got out of prison. So it's kind of crazy how we ended up searching him, because he had got out a month or 2 prior to us searching him on Facebook. So yeah, he just got out of prison. He was he did all his 30s. I think he got locked up when he was 20 and late 20s, and then came home when he was 40 something, somewhere in there.
So your mom had you young, or
yeah, she had me when she was 18, so kind of young, I guess, yeah.
And she had no relationship with your dad then either.
No, so what happened with my mom and my dad was they met at Denny's. They were working at a Denny's in Miami, and they, were working or whatever together, started dating, and my mom got pregnant. And she told my dad that, she's pregnant. My dad's like, oh, I'm gonna, I want a family. I'm gonna, do what I gotta do, take care, the whole little spiel. And he was like, "I'm gonna go work with my dad." I'm Haitian. My dad's from Haiti, so he's like, "I'm gonna go work with my dad for a little bit." My mom, I think she said she thought he was into like construction or something like that on the side, and so he left and was supposed to come back, and they were gonna have this family, and he got some drugs, brought him up to Philly, and got indicted in Philly by the feds, and then she just never, because she didn't know anything about, his life in Philly. He's got other kids, like my brother and my 2 sisters that are in Philly. He's got other kids out there, but she didn't know that, so she, just thought he left and just thought that, just wasn't gonna stick around or whatever. He just ghosted her, but whole time he ended up going to prison, and we just never knew.
What did you think about your dad being in prison when you found out that he was in prison?
Uh,
Did you know much about prison at that point, or was that new to you?
no, I knew. I mean, I've had uncles, that's been in prison, out of prison, in prison, like, back and forth, so, it didn't really bother. I didn't look down on him for it or anything like that, but and I had a pretty good life with the females that raised me, like my mom, my grandma, my aunt. They all did a really good job. It was primarily my grandma that raised us. It's 7 kids. I got 5 brothers and 2 sisters, so well, including me, so my grandma really raised all of us, and my mom was always working, so she was, like, in and out kinda, but she was always around, and so I never really, cared about meeting my dad like that. It was more so just, like, being young and being in school, and, other kids will be like, I'm going fishing with my dad for spring break," or whatever the case is, and it's just like, damn, it was just kinda like a void that I had where it was like, I don't got a dad, and I hear everybody else talking about their dad, so it kinda, like, made me, I wouldn't say it made me envious, it just kinda made me curious, where I started really thinking more about, like, "Man, I wanna meet my dad, like, is he open to meeting me, or is he just gone?" Like, where he just don't care, but, yeah, he was open to meeting and, got to the airport. It was just really weird because I met him, I was 12 or 13 when we ended up meeting when I went to the airport, and he came and got me, and I remember he pulled up to the airport. He had a Infiniti G35X. It was real nice back then. It was like 2008, I think it was. It was like the same year. It was super nice. He was like banging Jeezy when he pulled up. I'm like, "Oh, I got a good dad." Like he's getting off to a good start. Like, but um it just kind of started, me being around another man was a little weird for me because I didn't grow up with the dad. I grew up with women. So it was like, he'll like grab the back of my neck, and I'll like move my head. I'm like, "Bro, like your hands are strong as hell." Like, I'm like, "Stop." You like, "I'm your dad. You're my son. I can do that." But it's just like we don't have that bond yet, or I'll be like laying in the bed. He'll come in there and like lay by me and watch TV. I'm like, "Can you move over a little bit? Like, what are you doing?" Like, "What?" Like, "Bro, like you gotta get used to, having a man around." But he always had good intentions. He's a good dad. Like, when I ended up going to prison, he was there really for everything that whenever I called for, if I needed money or whatever it really was, he was there for the most part. So he did good for the situation that we were in.
Do you think the result would have been the same? Meaning, do you think you would have ended up in prison with or without your dad in your life?
I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. I mean, dads are more of like the discipline. So, maybe he would have been on my back a little bit more, and that kind of maybe that would have like, you know, I don't know. I'm not really sure if I would have. I would like to say no, like once you end up kind of hearing about, what got me sent to prison, it's kind of hard to answer that question because it was just unexpected. So
What were you like as a kid? What's teenage Jesse like?
I played a lot of sports. I like football a lot. Which now that I'm 30, I'm wishing I would have took it way more serious. But played sports. Um, I like the girls running around in the streets, sneaking out of the house, sneaking girls into my room. I got it's 5 brothers in total, so I have 4 other brothers, and we're all pretty close in age, right? So, I always had my brothers, so it's like, um, even if I wasn't around my friends, it was like my brothers were my friends, So and my older brother, he was kind of a troublemaker too, which that's kinda where I started going, like, left a little bit, I'll say, um, because I got put on probation. They were on probation initially first, so my 2 brothers are twins, they're a year older than me. They were on probation, I thought it was cool, like, I don't know why, I just thought it was cool, like, the PO comes to the house and it's just childish, but, back then it was like, like, it just seemed cool, I guess, and I remember I got put on probation for a curfew ticket, and when I ended up getting put on probation for that, ultimately, I never ended up getting off of, like, I didn't, like, successfully be, discharged or released off of probation, what it was for, like, a year or something. It was like, I violate, get into a fight or something like that with somebody, I'd get violated, or I'd be smoking weed or something, I'd get violated, and that ultimately led all the way up to when I ended up catching my case and going to prison, so I went from probation to parole, and it all started with a curfew ticket.
That's kind of crazy how the curfew ticket leads to probation.
Yeah. Yeah, it is crazy, and it was like
And this is in Florida or
no,
back?
this was in Minnesota,
Okay.
but it was like I was with my cousin Chops, and we were, in the alley of our house, and we were walking to the house, and I think it was like 10:30 or something like that, and I think curfew's 10 or something. I didn't even know there was a curfew for underage kids like that. And then the cops pulled up, and normally we would, like, run from the cops because we always just kinda how we grew up, running from cops and doing all of that, just crazy stuff. So, um, he pulled up, but I'm like, "We're good, like, we don't have nothing on us, like, so we really don't have any reason to run." So, um, we stayed there and just didn't know what he was doing, and he ended up, brought us, probably 40 feet to our house and gave us tickets for curfew, and that's where kinda everything started with, my life with the justice system. It's kinda how I got entangled into it. It was all started with a curfew ticket.
Cold days, big goals, and no time to cook. And trust me, I've eaten food where the goal was just survival. If you've ever had prison food, you know exactly what I mean. Mystery meat, soggy vegetables, zero flavor, zero nutrition. When I got out, I promised myself one thing: I'm never eating like that again. That's why I use Factor. My go to right now is their high protein meals, especially during February when I'm locked in on the gym and routine. These aren't frozen TV dinners pretending to be healthy. They're made with lean proteins, colorful vegetables, whole food ingredients, and healthy fats. No refined sugars, no artificial sweeteners, and no refined seed oils. It's real food that actually fuels you. What I like is that Factor fits whatever you're trying to do. If your goal is eating cleaner, managing calories, or just getting more protein without thinking about it, they've got you covered. They rotate 100 meals every week so you don't get bored, and they've got options like high protein, calorie smart, Mediterranean diet, GLP-1 support, ready to eat salads, and even their new Muscle Pro collection for strength and recovery. And the convenience is undefeated. These meals are always fresh, never frozen, and ready in about 2 minutes. No prep, no stress, no standing in the kitchen wondering how you messed up your diet again. I use this, and if you're trying to stay locked in and not eat like you're back on commissary food, you should too. Head to factormeals.com/lockedin50off and use code LOCKEDIN50off to get 50% off and free breakfast for a year. Eat like a pro this month with Factor. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. One free breakfast item per box for 1 year while subscription is active. I'm surprised there was no rehabilitation program or diversion program for you.
Yeah,
It
I don't
seems
know
a
if
little
they do that.
strict.
I don't know if they do that with kids though, like diversion programs or anything like that. But yeah, so then after the curfew started, the curfew ticket, after I ended up getting that, like I said, I was getting violated just for different, just stupid shit, like um, fighting a lot with just different kids that, we used to like have our group of friends and we get into it with other kids and smoking weed, partying, drinking, and being young, being like 13 and, 14 years old. So I ended up going to juvenile. I've been to probably like 6 or 7 juveniles. No, not that many. Maybe like 5, but I don't know how many there is. I think I've been to most of them in Minnesota, um, of the juvenile centers out there. So
For long periods of time, or?
the longest period was 10 months, and that was right before it was on the border. It was South Minnesota on the border of Iowa. It was like a block away from Iowa. It was called Elmore Academy. And man, I still remember how that happened. So like I had my mom called me one day and she's like, "You got to come straight home after school. Like don't go and do anything else. Like come straight home." So I kind of thought it was weird, but I didn't really question it. So I was like, "Okay, like I'll be home." So I get on the bus, come home, and I'm laying in my bed and all of a sudden I hear like Stenfor. No, 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 no. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what's going on? And all of a sudden, 2 cops walk in my room. I'm like, "What the fuck?" Like, I'm like, "What's up?" They're like, "Are you, said my name." I'm like, "For what?" And they're like, "We have a warrant out for your arrest." I was like, "What?" And I'm like, I was about to call my mom, like, call for my mom, and she's standing behind them. So I'm like, "Mom, like, what's going on?" Like, she's like, "Just go with them." I'm like, "No, no, I don't wanna go with them. Like, why?" And she's like, "Just give me your chain, give me your bracelet," because I always had, like, a chain or a bracelet, and she's like, "Just take it off, give it to me." So, they end up walking me out, they cuff me, walk me out the house, and, um, I'm in the back seat, and I'm like she's walking out with me, and she's outside the police car, and I'm like, "Mom, like, get me out of here. Like, what's going like, I don't even know I almost felt like I was being, like, kidnapped or something. Like, I don't know what I did wrong." Um, and she's like, "I'm gonna talk to Carrie." That was my PO's name. She's like, "I'm gonna talk to Carrie, and, we're gonna figure it out." But, because my mom used to, like now when I look back, I can see where it's like she was just trying to help me, you know? But in the moment being a kid, it's like, why are you telling my PO that I smoked weed? You know, like, cause then she comes and UAs me and I fail the test and then I get violated and then she sends me to a juvenile center. Or like, why did you say that? Why did you tell her that I got into a fight? Things like that. So I kind of started getting this resentment as a kid, and like I said, now looking back, it's like I can see where, her thought process as a woman, with 5 boys and 2 of them are crazy and they're always getting into trouble. I can see the thought process as like I'm just trying to help him, because he's not gonna listen to me, like so I see it, but it's still just like, man, I don't know. I felt like there could have been another way to go about that situation, but like I was saying, they ended up bringing me to a juvenile center called Prairie Lakes. It's in Wilmer, Minnesota. It's about 50 minutes from where I live. I live like 40 minutes outside of Minneapolis. So I'm thinking I'm gonna do a few days and then I'm gonna go home because that's normally kind of how it goes. You just do these little holds and then you're released or whatever. And we go to court and my PO is like, "Yeah, we're recommending the long-term program at Elmore Academy." And so I'm like, because my older brother that I was telling you about that kind of getting in trouble too, he was just in Elmore Academy, and he was telling me all these crazy stories and just wild stuff, and he did almost a year in there. So I'm like, "Man, I know this long-term program is gonna be at least 9 months that Imma have to be there," and that's the longest I've ever been away, from home. So I was crying, like, boogers coming out my nose, like, "Please don't let them take me, like, I don't wanna go, like, recommend a 30-day program and I'll change," but they ended up sending me to Elmore Academy for, 9 to 12 months was the program. So I went there, and I think that is kinda where, um I think that program, because it's closed now, but I feel like I kinda learned my finessing ways in there, and which is bad. Now that I look back, it's like, I wish I could do so much different, but, it was like the kids really ran that juvenile center, and if you were weak, the COs would pick on you, like, they restrain you, so, like, they'd put your arms behind your back and, like, kinda, like, have you like this up against the wall, and then if you don't calm down, they slam you, and obviously you don't have your arms because they got them behind your back, so you go full force into the ground with Mr. Halupka's body weight, on your back, and it was a co-ed juvenile center, so there was girls there too, and, I've seen girls, like, getting slammed on their face, and I remember, because we have, like, a basketball team there and a football team, so we were the Elmore Wildcats, and middle of a basketball game, Mr. Anderson, it was a CO there named Mr. Anderson. It was a kid there that he was in, I was in the older kids unit, because I think I was 16 when I went to Elmore, and, um, middle of the basketball game, we play other schools, like, that are around that neighbor Elmore, like, other little cities, they come to the juvenile center, and we play basketball games, or we might if it's an away game, we might go to them. Same thing with football. And Mr. Anderson grabbed Anthony and slammed him on the sideline behind the visitors' bench, slammed him, Anthony couldn't have been no more than maybe 85, 90 pounds, and they slammed him right on his face, and it put a hole right in his chin, and it was so deep you could, like, see I don't know if it was a bone or what it was, but it was just a deep hole in his chin. There was blood everywhere, and the game ended up obviously, like, they stopped the game. There's blood all over the floor, and that was one of the because Anthony ended up suing Elmore, and that was one of the incidents that happened that got Elmore Academy closed down. Um, Another one was, it was this kid in there, a little white kid named Levi, and we were out at the football field, and this CO slammed Levi, and they'll lay on top of you to, like, control your breathing to get you to calm down, but they'll have your arms, like I said, behind your back, and another CO usually comes to, like, help, and they'll stand there if they have to, like if you're down sometimes they'll have you on the ground for an hour or 2 hours straight, so they'll have to, like, tag in and tag out, so, this CO came and had Levi slammed on the ground and was like had his arms, and then another CO walked up and started pulling his arms. Can't really explain exactly how it, like, went, but his arms were behind his back, and they started, like, yanking on his arm and pulling it to the point where his whole arm turned blue, and he's like, "You're gonna break my arm, you're gonna break my arm." But they didn't care, and ultimately they ended up getting closed down, and there was a lot of lawsuits that, kids filed, and, I kinda felt bad because I never got messed with like that by the COs. I was kinda, like, in good with everybody, so, like, I had one CO in there, he was an older guy, I used to pay him to he would give me his phone at the start of his shift, and I would pay him money because Elmore Academy, they have a Wildcat Cafe, and if you are a certain level, because it goes up to level 4, so if you're a level 3 or a 4, you can go work at the Wildcat Cafe, and then you get tips. And so I was working there, I'd get tips, and instead of splitting and then giving them to the CO to count and she would, like, divvy it all up, one of my guys that I was working with, we would just pocket our tips and say we didn't really make nothing because down there, it was, some people can be racist, especially it's a lot of old people and some of them are kind of set in their ways. So sometimes we really didn't get no tips. We might have been in there 8 hours, no tips. So they didn't really think anything of it if I'm like, I didn't make any money today. So I ended up, making a lot of money, and I left home. When I ended up getting released and going home, I had like a nice wad of money, and I used to pay the CO's phone bill. I'd give him the money for his phone bill, and he would give me his phone. And then I started like thinking, like, man, what if I could get him to bring in like some chew? Because they can smell cigarettes. It's hard to smoke for kids to smoke a cigarette. But they would take chew for sure. So I had Mr. Berg, I would give him money, he'd go and bring me in a few tins of chew, and I would just divvy that up like almost like I'm selling weed in there, but it's chew. And cuz kids get allowances every week and their families can send them money, or it might be every 2 weeks you get an allowance, but so they would buy from me, and I was always stocked, because the CO was bringing it to me. And then one day, um, me and my guy was in our room, and we were using the phone, and I go use the bathroom. When I come back in the room, he's like, "Mr. Berg's a sex offender." I'm like, "He's a sex offender?" He's like, "Yeah, like these girls are trying to blackmail him." And they were like, I guess, I don't know, he did some crazy stuff with some girl or something like that, and all this crazy stuff. So that ended up coming out, and not from like me or my guy, it just ended up getting out there like after, maybe a month or two later. And they ended up letting them go. But a lot of COs there was because like I said, it was co-ed. So when we would go to school each day, the dorm is different. It's like you walk through a little breezeway and now you're in the school. So everybody would have like their girlfriend in there, and you'd be like, locker 7, and they go to locker 7, you'd have your note in there and then they'd write and whatever. One day we go open the locker and I grab this note out, and it's from Mr. Potter, like one of the COs, and he's old, he's like a 60-year-old CO. He's talking to one of the girls, and she's like one of the younger girls too, because there's like an older unit and there's a younger unit. She was kind of like one of the younger girls in the younger unit. I'm like, "What the fuck?" Like, Mr. Potter, and he was my primary. So, like, when I would level up, like, I'd go from, like, a level 2 to a level 3, he'd take me out, like, they might bring you into the, city, like, what was it, like, Fairmont or something like that, bring you out there, let you get some food or whatever, and I seen that, and I'm like, "Oh, that's weird," but yeah, like I said, ultimately, it ended up getting shut down. I think, it was just the physicalness of how these COs would handle us kids and the predatoriness, like, so they ended up shutting that down. So I was released from Elmore, and, I did 10 months, but, um, I was like I said, I was kinda finessing. I'd finesse my grade sheets so I could get my levels faster. Or I'd, like, have the CO, like, give me good levels, good evals, they were called evals, so they'd give me good evals, so you gotta maintain, like, if you're going for your level 3, you gotta maintain at least a 3.0, eval. It's kind of complicated to explain, but you gotta maintain whatever level you're going for, you have to maintain that for a week to level up. So, I ended up getting out of Elmore, but it wasn't like a good discharge. it was a bad, I don't know, I can't remember what they like the terminology that they used for it, but basically they said that, yeah, he got his level 4 because that's what I needed to get out. I needed to get my level 4. Usually it takes a year to get it. I got mine in 9 months. So they were kinda like, you know, I don't know, and they knew I really wasn't doing good in there. I wasn't like a upstanding student. I'd get into fights and, um, you know, whatever. So they ended up letting me go, and then I thought I was going home, but then they sent me back to Prairie Lakes, another juvenile center. So then I had to do 30 days basically to prove that I'm changed, you know? So I went to Prairie Lakes for 30 days. Now this was July of 2012. I ended up getting out of Prairie Lakes in August of 2012, which so I did 30 days. They sent me home on an ankle bracelet. So I go from Elmore, 9 months, Prairie Lakes, 30 days. Then I go home on an ankle monitor. I had to do 30 days on the ankle monitor. So I ended up getting off like early September, right? Like the first week of September or something like that. You know, and I'm a senior. It was my senior year of high school. And, you know, I'm back playing football, back around all my friends. And, you know, I'm just thinking like, man, like I'm almost 18. Well, I was always like the younger kid of my class, you know, like so everybody else would turn 18 before me because my birthday's in the summertime. So everybody during like the school year, they'll be 17, going on 18 or whatever. And so I was always like one of the younger students. But yeah, so I ended up doing pretty good after I got out. School was going good. My grades were doing pretty good. And one night we got a big, not necessarily a big college, but we've got a St. Cloud State University. And my house was maybe like a mile from St. Cloud State. So we used to go and, you know, go party with the college kids or whatever. And so this night, I remember it's so crazy how things end up working out, but I'm with 2 of my best friends, um, 1 girl, and then it was this sophomore that I used to play slot receiver, so it was a sophomore that was pretty good at football, so they basically had me, like, mentoring him, like, going over plays with him, so we'd run routes and, you know, do whatever, try to get him, like, to get the plays down, and so ultimately we ended up becoming friends after, you know, just being around each other playing football, so him and his girlfriend are with us. So what is that, like 6 of us, and we're in, a Dodge Intrepid. You know, they're kinda wider cars, and so it's me, 2 of my guys in the back, and 1 of my homegirls. We're all back in the back seat. Um, Junior and Casey's driving, Junior's in the passenger seat. Now we're going down this alley and on campus because we got this address that well, I ended up getting a few different addresses, and so we were really just kinda scoping out which party was looking the best, and then we was gonna go to that party. So the first address we were going to, you can't park on the main street, you gotta go around into the alley, and that's where all the driveways are, and so we go through the alley, and I remember, Mankato State University, there was a football game that night, and so there was a bunch of Mankato kids that were in St. Cloud too, so it was just people everywhere out there. And, we're going down this alley, and it's this one guy, and he's got 2 girls with him, like, he's in the middle, and they're each holding one of his hands. And so Casey stops the car because the alley's really narrow, and she stops the car, and, one of the girls, you can tell, like, she was super drunk, like, she said something and started, like, hitting the back window, like, punching the window of the car. It was the window, like, it was the seat behind the driver's seat. So she started, like, punching that window or whatever, and I didn't really think nothing of it. 1, it's not my car, and 2, this is, like, just some drunk girl, that's just being dumb. So Casey obviously thinks different, it's her car, and so she gets out the car and, like, runs up to the girl. Like, I don't know if she was, like, trying to fight her or if she was just trying to confront her, and but she was in, like, a full jumpsuit. She had, like, her hood up and stuff. So I'm guessing, like, alright, so anyway, she runs up, the guy ends up swinging on her is what she said because I really wasn't watching. She runs back to the car, "Oh my god, Jesse, he just tried to hit me, he just tried to hit me." So which it was still kinda weird, and I still think about it sometimes, like, why did she open my door? Like, her boyfriend was in the passenger seat, and I mean, that's your girlfriend, so it's kinda on you to, be there for her and make sure that she's protected, or even just be like, "Don't get out the car, what are you doing?" But, um, so, I get out the car, and me and the guy are kinda going back and forth, just it's like not a long time, maybe just a few seconds, and the girls are, like, getting in my face, and I'm trying to, like, move them, and nobody else got out the car, it's really just me. They're all like, my guys, they're just kinda standing back by the car, and, so one of the girls is pushing Colton back, that was his name, and another girl is pushing me, like, back, and I'm, like, moving her out the way, and I swing, and I hit him, and I, like, hit him somewhere on the side of his face, and he dropped, and when he dropped, I heard his head hit the ground hard, like, it hit the ground really hard. It was like I still hear, um like, I can still remember the noise, in my head if I just think back to that day, and he hit the ground, and he was just instantly asleep. And so, like I had said, just from being young and dumb, I had been into plenty of fights, and and it was just I never heard that sound before of somebody, hitting the ground. So it was like I didn't really think nothing of it, but I just knew that it was just a little weird that, that noise was just a little weird to me. So once he falls down, my one of my best friends comes running up. And I'm guessing he was probably gonna try to kick him or something, and I, like, grabbed him like, "Fuck that, let's go. Let's just leave." And he's like, "Let at least run his pockets, like, what the fuck?" And I'm like, "No, like, let's just go?" And, um, yeah, so, boom, we get in the car, we leave, go back home, throw our clothes on that we're gonna be wearing out, go back to that party, or it was a party, like, a block away or something like that, but we ended up going back out, going to a party. And this was Thursday, September 20th, 2012. And it's crazy how you can go through like a traumatic event and you can remember everything, like even just the smell of the day, like the temperature, like everything. And so Friday, September 21st, it's early in the morning, I'm getting ready to go to school. And I walk out in the kitchen, and my mom's always on her laptop and, like, reading the paper on her laptop, and she's like, "Did you hear somebody died last night?" And I was like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, somebody died on campus." And I was like, "Oh," I'm like, "No, I didn't hear that." I'm like, "I didn't hear anything about that." She's like, "Yeah." She's like, "Did you get into a fight last night?" I was like, "No." And because it really wasn't a fight, I guess I just hit somebody. But I mean, just going through what I went through with my mom when I was younger, I probably wouldn't have told her yeah anyway. But it was like, I'm like, "No, I didn't." And she's like, "Okay, yeah, it says somebody got out of a car and punched somebody and he ended up dying this morning." And I was like, "What?" And so instantly I start thinking like, mm, maybe, like, but probably not because there's so many people out there and there's always fights happening. But the circumstance kinda matched what kind of happened? So, I kinda just go about my day and go to school, and then all of a sudden I start getting texts to my phone, like, "Jesse, that guy you hit last night's dead." I'm like, don't text me that. Like, if you wanna, talk about that, like, call me or, like, we can meet up or something, but don't text me, like, something like that. And it's really not even, because 'cause I'm really too young to even know about, like, the don't text and don't do it. It was really just I was in denial about the situation, So, it was like, um it was kinda like, and then I felt like everybody, like, kept coming at me with this, like, "Man," and it's like, how does everybody know already that I'm the one that punched this guy, you know? Um, so, yeah, the weekend goes by, nothing happens. I have court on Monday, September 24th of 2012, and I tell my brother that was with me that night, I tell him, um like, "What if I get locked up when I go to court?" And he's like, "Bro, like, you're not gonna get locked up. Like, you're good. Like, and then if you don't get locked up, you're good." So I'm like, "All right, bet. Like, say less. Like we'll see." So I go to court. Court went good. Court went good, I guess. I can't really remember exactly what it was that I was going to court for, but it was something with my probation officer. And court I was getting put back on house arrest, that's what it was for. So, um, I end up leaving court and they're like, "You gotta go to the place where they put your monitor on or whatever." And so I'm like, "Okay." So my mom calls me and she's like, "Imma give you," or no, I forget exactly how it ended up going, but I end up going to get the ankle monitor on, and we go home. And I still remember I'm arguing with, like, back then, it was like we had been together since like 7th grade, and we're like texting and arguing back and forth. And all of a sudden I hear doom, 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 doom. And I'm kind of like in a daze because I was kind of sleeping, but I was still kind of awake. Um, and then I hear my grandma like, "Why the fuck is there detectives at the door?" And so, like, I'm just laying there. Now I'm really awake, because I really, like, I'm wondering if they're, like, there for me. And, all of a sudden I hear my mom, "Jesse, Jesse." I'm like, so, and like me, I'm always thinking I can just talk my way out of something, So it's like, I go to the door, there's 2 detectives there, and they're like, "Are you so and so?" I'm like, "Yeah." And they start asking me like, "Where were you at?" Blah blah blah. And we had already kind of came up. When I say we, like me and my best friends, I call my best friends my brothers. So I don't want like your fans to get like confused or anything like that. But so me and my brothers had already kind of came up with a story like, "Oh, we're gonna tell them if they ask us anything. We're gonna tell them we were at our aunt's house the whole night. We didn't leave," not thinking that our phones are pinging off these same towers, on campus. So, um, I end up we're standing in my front yard and they're like asking me these questions and I'm like, "No, I wasn't there." They're like, "Oh, like, have you heard about what happened?" I'm like, "Yeah, I heard. Like, my mom had said something to me a few days ago, but that's all I really know about it." And I remember they looked at my hands and I didn't have nothing wrong with my hands. And all of a sudden, one detective, he walks off and he gets on the phone, and I'm trying to kinda follow him a little bit because I don't know what he's doing. I don't know who he's talking to, but I hear murder. And all of a sudden he stops, turns back around like, "All right, we're gonna be placing you under arrest for second degree unintentional murder." And my heart just dropped. But in that moment, I didn't cry, I didn't fall to my knees. I was kind of just I almost kind of felt dead, I couldn't smell nothing, I couldn't feel the wind, I couldn't all I heard was my mom start screaming and crying. And yeah, so then they started cuffing me and then they did it in front of my little brother and my little sister, and I'm like, could you like put the cuffs in the front so I could like hug my family? And they were like, yeah, that's fine. So they put the cuffs in the front, and they put the cuffs in the front, said bye to my family. They brought me to oh, and then my mom was like, "Don't talk to my son. I'm getting him a lawyer. Don't say a word to them. Like, don't talk to the police. Just shut up." And so I'm like, "All right, like." And so they bring me down to the jail, and they're booking me in, and they're like, "Okay, what's your date, first and last name?" Give my first and last name. They're like, "What's your date of birth?" I'm like 7/15/95. And the guy, like, started counting, like, "You just turned 17 years old." And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "You can't be here. You gotta go to the juvenile center." I was so mad because I had already been to these juvenile centers. I know you can't talk, like, you can't, really interact with like, the one that they're gonna send me to, you can't really interact or anything like that. So they end up asking me, like, "You wanna go back to Prairie Lakes or you wanna go back to Lino?" And I had been to both of them already, so it was kinda like picking, like like, the better out of the shittiest ones? So I went to Prairie Lakes because it was a little bit closer to home, and, that was Monday, September 24th, 2012, and so I had to go to the juvenile center, and I was going through my certification process so they could certify me as an adult. My PO came to visit me, and now this is the same PO that I've had since I was like 12 or 13 years old. And she comes to visit me, and she's got a big stack of papers, and she's like, "I got to go through all these papers with you." And it was like I don't know exactly what it was for, but it was probably something to do with my certification or whatever. Um, and then she just started crying out of nowhere. And, this lady had locked me up multiple times. So it was like, it kind of shocked me when I seen her crying. I'm like, damn, like, the fuck you crying for? Like, I'm the one sitting, fighting a murder charge right now. And she's like, I'm sorry you're going through this. And, I know it's a really unfortunate situation. And, they're probably gonna certify you as an adult. And I was like, okay, like, alright, like, I already kind of figured that, and I couldn't imagine spending 3 years in this place, so, or 4 years, however long EJJ is, like, till you're 21, I think, or something, so, um, yeah, so they ended up, certifying me as an adult, and then I went to, the county jail.
When you come home from prison, nobody really explains how credit works. They just expect you to magically have it. I learned the hard way that bad credit doesn't just follow you, it controls you. Apartments, cars, interest rates, even basic things felt out of reach, no matter how hard I was working. That's one thing I wish I understood earlier. Credit isn't about money, it's about access. That's why I want to tell you about Ava. Ava is a credit building app that's designed to work fast and help your credit score where it really matters, so your credit score can start climbing with almost zero effort. What I like about Ava is it doesn't make you jump through hoops or lock up a bunch of cash just to get started. Instead of a secured card that ties up a deposit and takes weeks, Ava can approve you in 5 minutes with up to a $2,500 credit limit and no credit check. That's huge, especially if you're rebuilding or starting over. Here's the part that really hits for me. You just pay your normal monthly subscriptions with the Ava Credit Builder card, and Ava reports your on time payments to all major credit bureaus. So the stuff you're already paying for actually works in your favor. They can even report rent, utilities, and phone bills, including up to 24 months of past payments, which is wild if you've been doing the right thing but getting zero credit for it. I've had those credit win moments, finally getting approved, seeing rates drop, and it changes how you move. Ava keeps it simple, transparent, no hidden fees, no stress. It's credit building without feeling like another system stacked against you. Take control of your credit today. Download the Ava app, AVA. And when you join using my promo code locked in, you'll get 20% off your first year, monthly or annual, your choice. Again, grab the AVA app and use my promo code locked in so they know you heard it from me, and you'll get 20% off any plan for up to a year. That's promo code locked in. Thanks to Ava. Now go get yourself good credit. What was that experience like in the county jail?
What was it was my mindset was completely different because going from a juvenile center where you can't talk to anybody, you journal all day. Um, if you want to ask somebody something, you gotta like raise your hand. The CO like be like, "What's up, Jesse? Like, can I ask a peer question?" And they were like, "What's the question?" And like, I wanted to ask him if he ever had a Whopper from Burger King. Like, nope, that's talking about the ouch. You can't talk about that. Okay. If you then you gotta like sit and snitch on each other. Like in your journal, you got everybody's name wrote down. It's just like a notebook paper. Every single day you have to make a new paper and you write everybody's name down. Then you have your plus side, and then you have your negative side, right? And so and you're just sitting in silence all day. So it's kind of hard to spot things, but for instance, like if somebody gets out of his chair and he bumps into somebody, it's called DPIC, which stands for what is it? Oh no, if he gets out of his chair and doesn't push in his chair, you put DPIC for didn't push in chair. If you bump into somebody, you put, and that's a negative. You would put if you like bump into somebody by accident. I might step on your shoe by accident while we're in line getting our lunch tray, and you got to write APC, which is accidental personal contact, or like there's so many different abbreviations for just nitpick stuff. So for me, um the COs would kind of be on me because I'm like, man, like I'm not gonna sit here and nitpick at everybody and watch what everybody's doing. So I never would have negatives for people like that. And um and the COs really didn't care because they knew I wasn't gonna be here long. They knew I was gonna end up getting certified. So they kind of just left me alone. But I still remember the day I got certified and I ended up leaving. Two COs from the county jail that I live in came to get me, and I was asking them questions because it's an hour car ride back to the jail, and I'm like, can we watch TV? And they're like, yeah, you can watch TV, like in the jail, I'm like, yeah, you can watch TV. Like, okay. I'm like, can we cuss? I'm like, what? Can you cuss? Like, I mean, you're grown. I guess you can cuss if you want to cuss. Okay. Like, can I call anybody I want to call? I'm like, yes. Like, what the fuck's going on in that juvenile center? Like, what's going like, man, it's like, it's crazy. Like, you can't do none of that. And then, like, they'd sit because my case was high profile. They would sit, like, I couldn't have like a visit, just me and my mom. The CO would always be there in the visiting room with me and my mom, and he'd be acting like he's reading a paper or whatever, but he's listening to every single thing that I talked to my mom about, listen to my phone calls, everything. So it just felt good to get out of there, and even though I'm still locked up, I just felt more freedom going to the county. So I was in the county for 15 months, I think, fighting my case.
There's no option for bail whatsoever.
$1 million bail was my bail. Well, it was 500,000 with conditions, 1 million without conditions. So we don't have $500,000, and or I guess it would have been like 50,000, but then we don't have equity in 500,000, to cover the rest. So my mom told me like um the public defender initially that they gave me, she was really nice, and she was like, we got a whole group of trial experts that we're bringing on for you, we really want to help you with this case. And like she was begging me to let them keep my case, but I'm thinking she's trying to like swindle me, and just feed me to the wolves. So I'm like, no, like my mom said that she'll get me a lawyer. I'm gonna get a lawyer. So we ended up getting a lawyer. He was like this big shot lawyer. He was like ranked number 2 at the time in Minnesota, and I remember my guy that I was in jail with, it kind of put me on with the lawyer, and his name was William Bomer, and he came to see me, and he's like, yeah, normally he was just talking all this shit like he was he was just the best guy ever. He's like, oh, I'm from New Orleans. I fought a lot of murder cases in New Orleans and blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking like getting a lawyer from Minneapolis is better because, they fight bigger. There's not a lot of murders that happen in St. Cloud, Minnesota, where I'm from. Um, so my case was like one of the first outside of like this other situation that ended up happening. So it was like really big out there at the time. Um so and it's like it's different cuz I didn't like shoot somebody or I didn't stab somebody or I didn't like shoot into a house and accidentally hit somebody. And I'm not trying to downplay or justify what happened that night, but looking at the situation just outside looking in, you don't expect to kill somebody if you hit them one time. You just don't expect for that to happen. But then again, you know, things in life are unexpected. Like things happen. So, but you just nobody has that on their mind that, you know, if I fight this guy, there's a good chance I could kill him. Like you think I have to try to kill you in order to kill you. You know what I'm like, so it was kind of like, um, yeah, yeah, I forget where I was at though.
What's the attorney telling you while you're
Oh
waiting in
yeah.
county?
Yeah, so he was basically just telling me everything good, like, man, this isn't gonna be a hard case. They got you charged with murder. So my charges were second degree unintentional murder, first degree manslaughter, first degree assault. And he's like, I'm gonna get these. He said the most that you would be looking at is a manslaughter if we went to trial. He said the murder, they're not gonna find you guilty of that murder. Um, but he said we're really would be going for like an acquittal in this case. And every lawyer tells you, what you want to hear and just all this good stuff. And then he's like, okay, well, my fee is I think it was like $27,000 or $30,000 or something like that. So, and obviously I'm a kid, so my mom ended up getting him for me. She asked me like, do you want him? Like, do you like him? I'm like, yeah, I like him. He was cocky, kind of like that. I like, he was cocky, but he was sure of himself, is what I kind of felt. So his suits were real nice. He wasn't all dingy and dirty looking or, just like looking rough, So I was like, all right, this guy, he's got the look, So I felt like I could trust him, And like we'll get a little bit more into that because it kind of ended up backfiring on me. But yeah, so we ended up retaining him. And he started fighting my case.
Do you think it would have made a difference between a public defender or a paid attorney?
I mean, after how everything played out, I wish I would have just stayed with a public defender and not even put that burden on my mom. Because there's pros and cons to getting a lawyer, especially a lawyer from outside of your city. You know, um, having the public defender, she knows these judges, she knows these prosecutors. Like she was a respected public defender too. So, um, and she knows just how things work. She knows what makes a judge tick and, what to do and what to do and what not to do. So those are your your pros, and then your cons with getting a lawyer from a big city outside of your city is they almost look at him like he thinks he's gonna come into our city and win a, a case that and win this case in a community that he's not from, like, and just the way he dressed. Like I remember my prosecutor, he was one of the ugly, well, let me not say he was like, he just didn't dress like, this lawyer I had was a spiffy looking lawyer, you know? Like, so compared to the prosecutor just looked like, he just woke up, didn't wash his face, just threw his sports coat on and, um, came in the courtroom. So it was like, he's got this look, and then the way he was talking, he was real, like, fluent with his lingo, and the judge was, like, kinda shooting him down because I don't think she really liked me, my judge, and which I really don't know why, but we had to get the first judge they appointed, to the case, we had to get her removed because she was already, like, showing bias, like, I'm gonna be on and said, like, my last name case and was, like, things my lawyer ended up finding out, so we ended up getting a different judge, and maybe it was just the fact that another judge maybe got thrown off the case, so maybe that's why she was kinda like, I don't know, or maybe we hired a big name lawyer or whatever from, the city because we was going for it was a black lawyer. His name was, I think it was Bobby Champion. My family reached out to him, um, and he said that he couldn't take the case because he also served on, like, a legislative branch or something like that, and they start he couldn't take the case because of it was like a race issue, basically. Because and I guess I kinda skipped over this, but the guy that, ended up passing, Colton, he was white. I'm I'm black, right? So well, I'm mixed. My mom's white, my dad is Haitian. So I'm a little darker, like, for being mixed. So, these people look at me like, "Oh, this black guy just murdered, this white guy. This guy just got out the car and hit him for no reason." And, there's always, like, the narrative that gets painted, and that's why now I kinda like, when I hear the news and I see articles in the paper, I kinda take it at like, for a grain of salt, because it's like I was on the news, I was in the papers, and I know the lies that were said about me, and um, these different narratives that they were kinda trying to push about, "Oh, this was a target attack," right? Like, this guy um purposely tried to find a white person to attack or whatever, right? Um, which I mean, couldn't be farther from the truth, you know? So and it didn't start because of me. Like I didn't get out the car and say, "Oh, you know, there's the person I want to fight." It didn't start like that. But that narrative really started getting pushed because I guess I'm kinda going back a little bit now, but, when right before I got arrested, Casey and June and I guess I ended up finding this out once I got my discovery. It's kinda when everything started coming to light and I kinda figured out how they started getting on me, but the girl that was driving, the one that got out the car and, ended up opening my door, um, she was like she got with her boyfriend, they were living together with her parents, and they musta went to their parents, like, told their parents what happened, and the they came up with, like, some type of a story to, tell the police. So, by the time the police got there and got their statements, um the parents were basically coaching them into what like, if they I remember, like, for instance, Junior was, like, saying stuff, and, I mean, it's not like I had a video, I was just reading off the paper, but he would, like, say something, and then his mom would chime in like, "And remember how da 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 da," or "Remember how you said, like, all you hear is that noise," and that but, he never even ended up getting out the car, he was in the car the whole time, and, had I ended up going to trial and, like, then the story woulda came out, and that's one of the reasons why I'm here, is because I've never spoke out, like, about the truth about my case and what happened with it, So I kinda just let people push these narratives, and paint me however they want, like, I've had people, like, once I ended up getting out, I've had people come up to me like, "Man, you didn't do that, huh? That was, your other brother that did that." Like, and it's like, "Oh my god." Or it'd be like, "Y'all was playing what is it? The like, point 'em out, knock 'em out. Y'all were playing that game. That's how that happened, huh?" Like, in the newspaper was saying stuff like that too, like, we was playing a game and it went bad, somebody got hit and ended up dying, but it was nothing like that, it was, like, it was completely, accidental, and, like, now it's like I wish I could go back and everybody, I'm sure that's been through something traumatic wishes that they could change it, but you can't, and it was like, with me, it was almost like there was so many different narratives getting pushed that I didn't even know how to even come out and try to fight this, and it's like I'm fighting a case where I can't be out there talking about my case either, because that could play into the prosecutor's hands, something I say, or whatever, so I just kinda just left it alone, and I remember I called home when I was in the jail, my mom was like, "There's this group out. They're called the Black what is it, like, the Black-Footed Soldiers or something like that, and they wanna speak to you," and I told them no because they're pushing a narrative too that, and, like, they would, like, post all these, like, I remember after I came home, I ended up seeing this picture, but, it was, like, Duluth, Minnesota. A long time ago, they had, like, these lynchings out there, back in those type of days, and it was like a lynch mob, and it was like a dead black person in the middle of of them on the ground. He had like a rope around his neck, and in the midst of like the people in the lynch mob, they had a picture of Colton's face. Like, they photoshopped it in, and it said like, white people have been doing this to us all our lives, and fuck, the deceased, like, and, like, just pushing the wrong narrative. It's like, we don't want this race. This isn't a race thing, like, this is a complete accident, and this group is trying to push this narrative, and then this other group is pushing this narrative, and it just got to the point where I was just like, "I don't even care. I'm just gonna talk to my lawyer and just stay out the way, and I don't really care what anybody says," But I kinda now I've been home now for, 7 years now, and I just felt like, man, it's probably time to come out and, like, talk about it, like, I've had it held in for so long, um, and it just felt like something that I needed to get out, because maybe my story could help, um, another kid, or help another adult, it doesn't matter, it could just help somebody, and that's really my point,
What
but
kind of plea deal did they end up offering you?
so I remember my first deal, my lawyer came and he's like, they offered 26 years. And I was like, I'm like, what do I do on 26 years? Because Minnesota, you do 66% of your time. So, so I'm like, what would I do off of 26 years? He's like, you do about 18 years. I'm like, like that's longer than I've been born. I'm like, I can't do. He's like, no, don't worry about that. It's your first plea deal. It's always high. Your first deal is always crazy. Like, you'll be fine. Um, we just keep fighting. My second deal was 15 do 10. And then my third deal was 10 years. And at this point, I think I had like 15 months in or something, 14 months, 15 months. And and I wasn't sure if I was gonna take it. I wanted the murder. I wanted them to drop the murder charge, and I would plead to the manslaughter. And and initially, that's what my lawyer was telling me in the beginning, like, they're never gonna get this murder charge, and he was, like, gung ho on trial, like, "We're going to trial, no deals," right? Because he was, a trial lawyer. He won a lot of cases from what we had seen from what my mom had seen online, he had won a lot of different cases, so I'm thinking we're going to trial, no deals. All of a sudden, my lawyer comes in one day, comes to the jail. They call me in, and he's got this big smirk on his face, and he's like, guess what? And I'm like, what? And he's like, so my best friend just got married. Guess who was at the wedding? I was like, who? He's like, Colton's family. I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, they were all there. And, like I talked to, I'm not sure who he talked to in the family, but he had spoke to some people in the family because they were at every single court date, his family. Every single court date, they were like first row right behind me. And he's like, yeah, like, he had spoke or whatever. And I'm like, is that good? Or like, isn't that a bad thing? And he's like, no. He's like, that's good because now, because the family, they don't necessarily have a say in what the prosecutor can do and what he can offer, but they can give them their input. And usually the prosecutors like to keep the families happy. So I'm like, isn't that a bad thing? And he's like, no, like, it's a good thing because now, I can kind of soften them up a little bit. And because, every time they'd see me, like, they just had these looks where it was um, like I was nervous because they were right behind me. So it was like, damn, like, okay, like maybe that'll work. And after that day, his whole demeanor changed about trial. It was no more trial. You need to take this deal. Um, you know, just plead to the murder. And he just completely switched on me. And so yeah, so I ended up pleading out and taking the 10-year plea. And so it put me at 6 years, 9 months. So I did just about 7 years in prison.
But a little over 5 of those years was in an actual Minnesota state prison.
Yeah.
What was the biggest difference for you transferring from the county jail to the prison?
Well, before we go there, I remember my first time walking into court on my arraignment, right? Where you walk in, you get charged formally, right? Um, so I walked in and my public defender, her name was Catherine Mawmanger or something like that. She told me like, look, there's a lot of people in that courtroom right now. There's cameras, um, and everything. So and then she told me like, your family is in the second row, but I didn't know who was in the first row, right? Just didn't know who that was. So like, your family's in the second row. If you look, you look, but that's it. Don't do anything else. Just go to your seat because being a juvenile, um, my mom has to sit next to me at the table. And then everybody kind of seen like, damn, his mom is white, like I got a white mom or whatever. So, because before that they would, like I said, she used to always read the paper on her laptop. So she'd read the comments and stuff. And like people were posting crazy stuff like, this is why we should have never let the blacks out from under our thumb, and this is what happens when you let a single black mother raise 7 kids alone, and or however many, whatever, like just a lot of, just the hate comments and stuff. So it was like, and then, my mom's at the table and she's white and whatever. And not that it even like, I don't even know why it even matters if white or black or anything. Cause I mean, it's easy to see that this was an accident. But so anyway, I'm walking in the courtroom and I look to my left. First person I see is my aunt. My aunt's like just this loud personality. And she's smiling and she like blew me a kiss. And I'm still like in shackles and cuffs. And she blows me a kiss and I just give her like a half smile, like something like that. I don't know. And all of a sudden in front of her, I see this lady like, and she like made this crazy face where when I seen it, I just like was like, oh, I shouldn't have did that, and I just sat at the table. Well, like I come to find out that was Colton's mom, and so anyway, when I take the deal, the judge ends up accepting it because, it's on the judge to accept it, and I remember the judge was, like, I don't know, whatever she said, but, victim impact statements come. And I had this whole thing wrote where I'm explain like this wasn't a game being played. I'm so sorry. Like, I wish I could take this whole situation back. And I just had, everything that I was gonna say, and they do their statements before I give mine. So I remember his mom got up there and, you know, she was like, calling me a coward and saying, like, you killed my son, you purposely murdered my son. And she said, and this is like word for word, and it's always stuck with me. I don't know why, but she said, I still remember the first day I laid my eyes on you. You looked me in my eyes and you smiled at me. And that's when I knew you were a senseless murderer. And once she said that, I like thought back to that day, and I'm like I would never do. Like, I'm not some crazy and I'm a kid. I don't know how to, like, I'm nervous, and there's all these people, and then my family's right there. So it's like, even I'm sure if I would have gave a head nod, that probably would have been bad too. So it's just like, I just felt like I couldn't do nothing right. It was just like I should have just never even looked over there. I should have just been tunnel vision straight to my seat. But yeah, she said that, and that it sounded really bad too, and there was a bunch of people, so many people in the courtroom that day, like, cause I had support too. I had like all my family and I had friends, and my girlfriend back then was there, and then there was all of Colton's family and friends, and cause then they had to do their victim impacts and stuff, so anybody that wanted to talk could talk, and yeah, so she ended up saying that about me, and then the judge like, kind of co-signed me being like this murderer, and she's like, "You don't have any it seems like you don't have any remorse, like, I'm kind of reluctant to accept this plea deal." Um, so I was kinda, like, nervous a little bit because 'cause I'm like, "Damn, does that mean I'm gonna get, like, 15 years, or am I gonna get 20 years or something?" But she ultimately ended up accepting it. But, yeah, it kinda just painted a bad picture, and I kinda made me feel bad, like, damn, like, this lady still to this day thinks that, and her husband, and, just their whole family, like, they really think that I, like, looked at them and smiled at them like I was happy that I killed their son. And so, sometimes that can be a little hard, like, to deal with, just knowing that I killed somebody, and just knowing that it was a complete accident, you know? Um, so yeah, that was a little tough. But your question was
About
going from
going from jail to
prison.
state prison.
What about it? What was it like?
Yeah, what was the biggest difference for you, just on day one switching?
I mean, everything is different about prison. It's a lot more freedom in prison. I was almost happy, not happy, but I was excited to get out of this because they had me in a unit where it was just like really a bunch of old people, and because it was all single cells because I was a minor, so I couldn't be like in any double cells. Not that I mean, I liked the fact that I had a single cell, but it was just like the other unit, like the normal unit was called B unit. That's where like everybody that I know is at, and so they got me an F unit with all these old people, and um oh, and one more thing too, before we go to that. A week before, and this is really what pushed me to take this deal. Um, a week before trial scheduled, the deal had been on the table the whole time. Like, they didn't really give me a timeline. I'm guessing I had until trial to take that because they weren't. My lawyer said they wasn't coming down no more, and they wasn't going to a manslaughter. We'd have to fight for that. So a week before trial, I'm in the unit, I'm talking to my guy, like I said, I'm in F unit, so it's a bunch of older people, and, I'm showing my guy Twan a picture of me and my little sister, and then all of a sudden, I hear I'd fuck her, and so I'm like, "What?" Like, I turn around, I'm like, "What?" And then I see who it is, and it's Lester the molester. I'm like, I'm like, "What did you just say?" That was his nickname. His name was Lester, but everybody called him Lester the molester or whatever because he had a really bad, like, rape case or whatever. So I'm like, "What'd you just say?" And he, like, kinda waved me off, and so, like, I was really impulsive as a kid, and I just wouldn't think I would just kinda do it and then just deal with what happens. So I hit him, and I hit him in his mouth, but I went like this, I, like, smacked him with the back of my hand, and my knuckle, like, hit him right in his lip, and he jumped up, and I thought he was gonna, like, try to fight, and this is, like, middle of the day room, but the CO didn't see me hit him, and he got up, started marching to the bubble to go tell the CO, and then instantly, like, once I know, like, okay, this isn't a fight, like, he's about to tell on me. Me and my guy Twan was like, "No, no, no, please, please, hey, now I'm like pleading with this child molester, like to not tell the CO on me because I'm like, bro, like, I got trial in a week for, and my case is for fighting, like, I'm like, bro, please, like, I'll give you all the money off my books right now. And I think I had a few hundred or something like that on my books. And he's like, "No, you're gonna burn in hell." And so I'm like, "All right." And so I'm thinking, like I said, like I always think I could talk my way out of something. And I still remember the CO working that day. He was a good CO. He was like one of the cool COs that didn't really mess with you if you had toilet paper up, or he would just kind of let you do you. And he's like, "This motherfucker just hit me in my mouth." And I'm like, "No, I didn't." And I like look at him. He's like, "Yes, you did." And his whole mouth is just full with blood. And I'm like, "Oh shit." I was like, "All right, all right." And they're like, "All right, Smith, go to your room." And they came, cuffed me, took me to seg. And then my lawyer came and seen me and was like, "You just fucking ruined your case, basically." Like, even though he's probably happy, like, yes, like now he's gonna take the deal. But um, so yeah, that was one of the things that kinda just really gave me no choice, but to take the deal. Um so yeah, anyway though, so from that, yeah, like I said, prison was a lot more open, a lot more free, but it's a lot more political. In jail, it wasn't nothing like that, like with the politics and the gangs and different races. And I remember my mom was the day before I was getting transferred, because when I took the deal, I told them that I will take the deal, but I want an interim commit. And I'm not sure if you know exactly what that is, but basically it's where you, instead of taking the deal, sitting in the county until you get sentenced, you just go straight to prison.
Mm.
So I'm like, if I can go straight to prison now, then I'll take the deal. So obviously they're gonna do that. So like, yeah. So I left the next day to prison. I remember I called my mom when I took the deal, and my family didn't want me to take the deal. But I'm in seg now because I just hit Lester. So now I'm in seg. And, it's hard already just being in jail fighting a case like that, let alone now I'm in seg where I'm alone. I can't be on the phone because I did most of my time on the phone or playing cards. So it was like, now I'm alone. I don't got no food. I don't got nothing. I'm just alone with my thoughts, and I start trial in a week, and I'm going to be um, in the hole fighting, this case. So it was just like, I just ended up taking it. But yeah, like, they sent me to Faribault Prison. Well, St. Cloud, like the city that this case happened at, they are the intake prison. So like we have a prison in our city, and that's where everybody goes first. So you go to St. Cloud Prison, and that's where you get like your custody points and your like LSI score and everything. And so yeah, I was in St. Cloud for like 7 months, and I ended up getting my high school diploma in like a week before they transferred me out. So then they transferred me out from, St. Cloud to Faribault, but, everybody has this, they have these, like these assumptions about prison where it's like you're gonna have to fight right when you get in there. You're gonna need a knife. You're gonna need, to protect your ass, like don't let nobody rape you and all this crazy shit. And it's really not like that, you know? And I mean, all prisons are different. I'm sure like some prisons are a little more wild, but um like I remember Faribault after I left St. Cloud, Faribault was it's like the biggest prison in Minnesota, but it's really spread out. It's almost like a college campus. And I think I did like 2.5 years in Faribault, and I was like the youngest kid in Faribault at the time. Well, the youngest person in Faribault at the time. Um and my girlfriend that I was with back then, like I said, we had been together since like 7th grade or something. When I took the deal and I told her I was gonna take it, I told her like, you can just go on, like I didn't want her to leave. I was hoping she wasn't gonna say yes, but at the same time, it was almost I almost felt selfish to be like, you have to stay with me. You can't do anything or, whatever. So she was like, no, I'm gonna be there for you, and I'm gonna get on your vision list and I'm gonna come help you. And then you get in-person visits and stuff. You're not behind a glass or anything. So it was good to be able to like hug her and like hug my family and everything like that. But yeah, it is very different going from like county to prison. Like when people be like, oh, I did 7 months in the county, it's like anybody could go into the county and do, you know, some time in the county because it's not really people are going home, like you got nobody's in the county for longer than a year, like if you have anything over a year, you got to go to prison. So, well, at least in like my state, but so everybody's short timing, so it's almost like nobody really wants to trick their time off like that with some bullshit. So, but prison, you got people that got a long time that, you know, got real issues, that have mental issues, that, their girlfriend might have just broke up with them and, they still got 5 years left and, they don't got nothing to lose. They don't got no money. So, they instantly just like they lash out, so you're dealing with a lot of personalities. And especially me being young, um, I was like, didn't have like a lot, I didn't have any tattoos. I didn't have like, like scars all over my face, had me looking, like so people just like would see me, but they'd see me and they're like, man, like this little, like he's always got the newest shoes, whatever shoes come out. Like he has these shoes. He's always going to canteen, getting big 140 bags and doing this and doing that. Like I always see him in the visiting room. And because my girlfriend used to come and see me like 3 times a week, I think it was like a 2.5 hour drive or something like that. And she used to always come up there and see me. So the start of my bid was really, it really wasn't like too hard. I started getting into programs. I got, because, and that's another thing too, where it's like prison is you either work in the kitchen or you just lay on your back the whole time and watch TV and like eat honey buns or something. It's not like that. If you want to make prison into something good, you can, it's just really about what you want to, how you want to do your bid, right? So like for me, I got my I mean not my GED. I got my high school diploma like the day before, like I said, the day before I left St. Cloud prison. I got that. So now I don't have to, it's not mandatory school for me anymore. Now I can go into vocational classes. So I got certified in drywall, floor covering, carpentry, and small business management. And it's all and then I was doing college classes too on top of that. Um, but you have to work, you have to do something or else you're stuck in your cell the whole time. You only get out for like 2 hours or something like that. Versus, in jail, you don't have to do anything. You can come out, be out all day long, whatever. But
So do you think that makes it a safer place, the fact that it's so locked down and you can only get out for, say, positive activities?
you're talking about like jail.
No, prison. You were saying you were locked down for most of the day.
Yeah, well, if you don't have a job, you're
Mhm.
locked down for most of the day. Once I got there, I ended up going into, like, the vocational classes, so you work from, like, 8 to, like, 3 or something like that, 3:30, get off of work, and then it's count time or whatever, you lock in, and then you're out from, like, 5 to 9. That's Monday through Friday, and then the weekends, you're out all day long, but I wouldn't say it makes it safer because at the end of the day, if somebody wants to get to you, they can get it's real easy to get to people, even though it was a really big prison or there's whole different sides of the prison. All you gotta do is send a kite to somebody like, hey, I know this guy's in your unit, like, he owes me money, right? And now you think you just got away from a debt by moving to the other side of prison. But now you got people sliding on you like, "Hey, you know my guy, Tiny? Yeah, he wants his money. You gotta give it to me," right? Like, so just because you're locked in, it doesn't really you're locked in more than the county. I wouldn't say it makes it safer. I really just think it's how you carry yourself in prison, right? Like, if you go in there and you look like, you look like you can't defend yourself or you won't defend yourself, or if somebody sees you get checked, right? Like if somebody calls you out your name or says something crazy to you and other people see it, people kind of just ride that wave. Like, okay, he's a like he's not gonna do nothing. Like, let's take his shit, right? Like, let's go in his room and do this. Um, like I remember so in Faribault, it's all double cells. So I had a cellie, and it was this young, and by this time, I think I'd already been in prison now for a couple years or something like that. So I was already like, like institutionalized. Like I know I'm gonna be here for a few more years. So, um, they put me in the room with this kid. And he was like this little skinny white kid, and but he had like some genetics with his teeth. They like rotted really bad, right? So people like in the unit would like mess with him, or they wouldn't want to play cards with him because his breath was a little funny or whatever. And he didn't have nothing, and I kind of felt bad for him a little bit because I had like it's like the contrast was crazy because I have a bunch of stuff and he has nothing, right? So I would like if I would like make a like make a dish to eat or whatever, I'd share with him or whatever. And then one day he told me, um, well, when he came in, I ended up figuring out what he was down for, and he was down for a sex case, but it was with his, um, he had just turned 18 and his girl had turned 17. So it was like a year difference. And they were dating or whatever, and then they ended up getting into it, got into a bad fight. The mom called the police, and he ended up getting it wasn't like a I forget what level it was, and I'm not trying to justify any of that either, but some things it's like, okay, that's a little different than, you're with a baby or something like that. Like you were with this girl for I think they were together for like a few years, so everything was good until he hit 18 and she's, a year and a half younger or whatever it was. So he ended up going to prison, and I remember these white people, they were like a PNB gang, like this prison motorcycle biker gang, and they, came up because some people in prison, a lot of people would call me Miami. That was like, everybody has nicknames. They're like, "Hey, Miami, uh, isn't that your celly?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's my celly." They're like, "Yeah, he's a gump, right?" Meaning like, he's just like a goofy, like whatever. I'm like, I don't know, like that's between y'all, right? So they're talking to him, and I don't know exactly what their context of the conversation was about because I'm doing my own thing, and come back in the room, shut the door, and he's like sitting on the desk watching my TV, and I'm like, what was going on with that? And he's like, they just gave me this book, and it's got this list in it, and they want me to pay them. I'm like, let me see the list. So I start looking at the list, and it's like some razors, like just some broke shit, right? Like some razors, pack of cookies, like $20, something like that, something light. And I'm like, bro, look, like, and he was like scared, and I'm like, bro, I'm like, are you gonna pay it? And he was like, I don't know, it's cheap, so I think probably. And I'm like, look, Um, and he really didn't have any money either. He didn't have nothing. So I'm like, if you pay it, like this is gonna keep going. And now if you ever move to a different unit, um, they're gonna slide on you again, and they're gonna be, expecting you to pay. And he's like, yeah, I don't want to keep paying and whatever. I'm like, you want to know what you need to do? And he's like, what? I'm like, you just need to call one of them in the cell and whoop his ass. And he's like, you think I should do that? I'm like, I'm telling you, that's what you need to do. Like, they're gonna leave you alone if you do that. And he's like, all right, because out it was three white dudes and two of them were a little taller, and then there was one small one, right? I'm like, call, I forget what his name was. I'm like, tell him to come in the cell and beat his ass. And I'm like, don't you think you can beat him up? He's like, yeah, I think I could take him. I'm like, all right. So I go and like kind of facilitate um this. I'm like, look, my cellie said he ain't paying. Like, and Faribault wasn't really political where it was like, cause like the next prison that we're gonna talk about that I ended up getting transferred to, that one is like serious where I wouldn't even been in the cell with the white person unless like, yeah. But anyway, so I tell him like, hey, my cellie said he ain't paying, like he wants to fight. And so they're like, oh, okay, all right, let's like, we'll send what's his name in there. And so they sent the little short dude in there. And my cellie beat him up bad in the cell and like had him like choked up against the wall. And my cell was right in front of the phone. So I'm just like sitting on the phone, like the little rectangle window. I'm like just staring in the window, making sure my cellie's like putting in some work and he's beating him up. And so um they press the button, and the door pops, and comes out. He's all red and bruised, and my cellie's in the room, like hyped, like, yeah, I did it, and I'm like, yeah, you did it, and so yeah, um, but that's the other thing too is like the double cells and having to because they'll just throw anybody in your room. So now you gotta, when people come in, it's like you kind of gotta like with me, I was real picky about like certain things, like with the sink, the metal toilet connected to the sink and everything, like the water, gotta wipe the water out of the sink. Like the little specks, like, or if you're brushing your teeth and there's water splashing over, like you have to wipe the sink down. So I would keep a rag like on my sink, and then there'd be like a bottle of like disinfectant behind the toilet. And like if my celly, doesn't, he'd be like, or they're not used to it, so they would forget. So I would understand. But after a while, it's like you kind of know, that we keep this room clean. We clean the room every day, like, well, I clean the room every day. I never really made them help me because I always did it like a certain way. So, but I was really picky about just having making it as nice as I can for, the time being. But so yeah, anyway, one day, I had been at this prison now for probably about a couple years, and one of my guys from the world comes in. He's a white guy, and he's like, "Yeah, this guy's here that I'm into it with. Probably finna end up probably crashing him when we leave, to because he was in a different unit, so the only time we could see that unit is if we left out late to lunch or breakfast or whatever, and I never went to eat, like, the prison food, um, so he's like, "Just come with me to breakfast," and, because he's always with the guy that he was into it with is always with, like, this one guy, so he's like, "I don't want them to jump me, so, if we start fighting, if buddy jumps in, then, you got me, basically." So I'm like, "Yeah," like, so long story short, we end up going to breakfast. We see the guy, and he's with the guy he's always with, and I see him, he's big as hell. He's like 6'6" or something like that, just a tall white dude. And I'm like, "Damn, that's who you're into it with?" I'm like, "Oh, shit." Like, "Okay, whatever." Like, so we Chase is like, "All right, like, come outside." So they get their trays, they don't eat, they just dump them. They come straight outside. So now I know, like, okay, like, we're really about to fight. So they start walking and they're going back and forth like, oh, whatever. It was some shit that had to do with just the outs. So, um, going back and forth, and all of a sudden my guy spits on him, like my homie that I'm with spits on the dude, and the guy swings on um my guy Chase. So once he swung on him, I see his friend just kept walking, like instead of, getting involved, he just kept walking like nothing was going on. So then I hit the guy that swung on my mans, and like, he ended up falling, and um so anyway, I end up going to seg for that, and I got 45 days in the ship out. Because if you fight like in the chow hall, or if you fight like outside, it's technically inciting a riot is what they charge you with. Um, so they kicked me out of Faribault prison, which was a medium security prison. Kicked me out of there, sent me to closed, which is max. Um, and the prison they sent me to was Stillwater. And this is the prison where, it's all bars. Have you seen like Shawshank Redemption?
I haven't. I have to see it, but I've seen Shot Caller.
Okay, right. Where it looks,
It's like
it's like,
Alcatraz, kind of.
yeah, yeah. It's like all the prison doors are bars. There's not like
That's how the shoe
doors.
was in the Danbury Federal Prison I was in.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
So
it's
it's no,
tiers.
yeah, it's
Yep.
tiers. Yeah. So like when you walk in, it's 4 galleys, right? Like 4 tiers. So the first thing you do is like look up, like damn, like, and there's just people everywhere, like hanging on the galley. People got their shirts off. They got, homemade wife beaters. They're working out. They're playing poker. They're getting drunk. They're whistling. People are screaming, new fish, this and that, la da da da. But I had already been in prison a few years, so it was different for me because I got friends that are here now, so I'm like walking through, and you gotta walk half of like the flag is like the bottom, the bottom tier or whatever. You gotta walk like half the flag just to get to the security bubble where the COs are. So you're walking by all these people, and there's, it might be, 4 or 5 of us walking in with our shit, and everybody's looking, they're looking at your property, seeing if you got money or not. And then, you see people. If you know people, then you know people. If you don't, then you don't. But I ended up knowing a bunch of people in there, so I kind of just like mixed in right away. And but yeah, Stillwater was they're in the process right now of closing Stillwater, because they can't afford to do like the renovations that it needs. Like I remember one morning I had got up, I was working in the kitchen, and my shift was from 4 to 10, and I had got up early in the morning, and had only did this job just for a little bit, but I had got up early in the morning, and I'm washing my face, and normally, in Stillwater, most of the cells have porcelain toilets and then a porcelain sink. They're not connected. Like Faribault has the whole steel setup. It's not like that. It's like a sink that has nozzles, not the button that you push, and it has like a real faucet head that comes out. But you rip like a white tee, or you might rip a sheet, and you tie it around the nozzle, right? So it basically screens your water, or filters your water for you. And like I'll switch mine every week, but when you switch it, it's like brown and nasty. I remember one morning I was up getting ready for work, and I was like throwing water on my face, and I was about to throw like a scoop of water in my mouth from after like I had brushed my teeth, and I had my lamp on, and I kind of like seen the water was looking a little dark, but I'm like, maybe it's just because my room is dim, because it's still dark outside. So I'm like, maybe it's just, so I hit my light, and I had like little chunks of like iron or something like that in my hand that I was about to throw in my mouth. And that was one of the things that they needed to fix, but I guess it was just too expensive for them to fix it. Um, on top, like one of the things on top of many other things that they needed to fix. So now it's in the process of like being closed down. But Stillwater's crazy, like, that's where I got, like, all my tattoos at. Um, the COs there, like, each race really has, like, their, like, primary CO, like, the blacks got, like, Jamaica, and the whites got Slusher, and, like, everybody kinda has their CO, and gangs run Stillwater. So, like, if, like, for instance, if one white guy fights 2 Mexican people, right? Or 2 Mexicans jump a white guy. Now, the one of the COs that's, like, knows the Mexicans or whoever's got the unit for the Mexicans would go to him and would talk to him about whatever, and they would go to the white guy and talk to him and see if they can, like, settle it off the flag, meaning, like, "Hey, if y'all need to, like, fight, like, go into a room or something real quick, we don't wanna see it, we don't wanna know about it, y'all handle it, but we just don't want the unit to go up." So, it would be shit like that, um, where it's just, like, gangs and cliques, really is what kinda controlled the prison in Stillwater.
Why did you decide to get tattoos in prison?
I always wanted tattoos. Like, it wasn't for, like, this edge or anything like that, because I had been into, I think, like, my whole bid I think I maybe got into, like, 7 fights out of, like, almost 7-year bid, which is, like, pretty low, especially, and, like, for me, I was young and thought I had something, like, to prove, and I felt like people would look at me, like, all this little pretty boy that's in here. His girl's always coming up here to see him. He's always got 140 bag on his back. He's got this, he's got that. I felt like people judged me because of that, right? So I felt like, one, I wanted tattoos, and I wasn't just gonna let anybody do my tattoos, So, like, I wasn't like Blueface where it's just like anybody drawing me, right? It was like I want the best in here to do it, and so, like, well, I guess, like with this sleeve, my celly, I got this in Faribault, but, like, the medium security that I was at first, my celly, his name was Russia, he was broke too, well, he didn't have a lot of, like, support, but, he was a really good drawer, like, he had all these pictures up, he'd sit all night and just draw. And I'm like, "Bro, you can draw really good." I'm like, "You think you can tattoo?" And he's like, "I probably could do that." And so I'm like, "What if I bought you a gun and then you just do your free work? Like, I get all free work, from you, and then you can make some money. You can buy yourself a TV so you can stop watching, my TV all the time, and, get some food and whatever." And so I ended up buying a gun. Well, I bought the pieces to a gun, and then we had to get it set up. So, like, the gun that most of the guns that are made in, like, a Minnesota prison, I've seen different people say they've used, like, different pieces, or, they have different setups, but it was a Bic, like a clear Bic pen, and then guitar string, like, all of this, like, I got all this, and then my shoulder and my whole chest done, and it was all done with guitar string. So, like, they, like, file the guitar string down, and they, get an alarm clock, take the motor out of the alarm clock. Like, people in prison are smart, like, it's crazy some of the people, you think, like, these people, like, people that haven't been to prison, I feel like they look down on prison like, "Oh, they're stupid, that's why they're there." Like, some of these people, like, might have been, like, a science professor, like, went to school for chemistry, and, now they're in here making the craziest hooch ever, like, just different stuff like that. So, it was like, or, there's tattoo artists in there. So, there's a lot of good people in there that have good skills that, they can still put into use. It's just different materials that they're, working with. So, like I said, Big Pen, alarm clock motor, guitar string, and then they take you gotta get some coconut grease, like, for hair. They get a popcorn bag and put a wick in the grease, light it on fire, and put the popcorn bag over it, and then the soot builds up in the popcorn bag, and they scrape all the soot out, and then that's your ink, but they mix it. Some people would, like, put a little bit of shampoo in it, but then, like, that shit'll, like, have your shit, like, green after a little while, your ink, like, once you've had it set in for maybe, I don't know, like, few months or something, after it's done pilling and it's, like, set in, the ink will, like, start turning green, it'll, like, fade to, like, a greenish color. So, I remember, like, they're like, "You always know you got good ink if, like, they have the little droplet, bottle thing. They'll take it." Like, when I bought the ink, they'll test it for me, and they take a little droplet because there's just an ink guy that just makes ink. He don't tattoo, he just makes the ink for it. And you take, the little droplet thingy that you put the ink in, just give it a little squeeze into the toilet, and if it stays in a bead, like, it stays beaded and it drops to the bottom, that's good ink. But if it, like, hits the surface and it, like, just spreads out, then it's bad ink. Like, it's really thin and it won't set in your skin well. So like, the ink that they used on me was decent ink. Like, all my work is pretty dark, and it's all, like, decent work for, prison work. But I remember, like, when I was getting my chest done, hurts so bad, and I'm, like, trying to be tough about it, and then you're like, "Oh, I need this pain. I got so much pain built up. I need to feel this," but it's like, "No, it hurts." Like, it doesn't no tattoos feel good. So when people say, "Oh, tattoos don't hurt," yes, they do. Every single tattoo I've ever gotten hurts. It doesn't matter where I've gotten it at, they hurt. But I guess, like, they did give me a little bit of an edge though, in prison, but for the most part, people kinda knew me already, and they knew that I would fight if I had to fight, but, like, being young and being active, like, with sports and gambling and, um, like, sports betting, I was involved in all of that. So, that is, like, you're kinda putting yourself in a predicament for trouble, right? Like, when you are involved in every day you wake up, you're going to the poker table to play, right? Or some days I might open the poker table or, betting, I'm putting in parlays to the casino guy. Um, so it's almost like that's where all my trouble really came from when I did get into fights for the most part, despite the one that happened outside. Um, it all came from playing cards, playing, because I got guys that did like, one of my best friends now, he did, what, like 4.5 years, something like that, didn't get in one fight his whole bid. Like, one of my other guys did, 9 years, came home, didn't get in one fight his whole bid. So you don't have to fight in prison. It's just about, um, the situations that you put yourself in, right? So, like, me, I really didn't care. Like, I know this guy's hot-headed. Like, my guy might not sit at the table and play just because he knows this guy talks too much shit and he's hot-headed, but I would still sit and play, and then, now it's like me and him are going in the cell and we're fighting now, even though I should have never been playing with them, but it's just, and being impulsive, like, um, and feeling the need where it's like, I can't let nobody disrespect me. I can't, like, I would rather get into a fight and lose than to let you call me out my name and treat me and then, you know, not do nothing about it to defend myself, because it's kinda almost like a pride thing for me, like, some people have that humility where it's like, "Words don't affect me. I don't care, just don't touch me," right? But for me, it was more like, if you say the wrong word to me, I'm gonna fight you, right? Like, we're gonna fight, and that's just being young and being dumb, like, because now when I look back on, like, some of the dumb shit that I did in prison, it's just like, man, like, if I would've been older, I feel like I would've had a smoother bid, but I wouldn't I mean, now I got kids, like, I'm grown, I got a family, like, me and my like, we own a house, like, so I couldn't imagine going through what I went through back then right now, but I was just saying that I know if, like, I did, it would've been a lot smoother bid, just because I'm a lot more humble now, and I'm way more calm than I used to be, and I don't feel like I need to prove anything to nobody, right? Like, so but being young and being in there with a bunch of, like, men that are older than you kind of feel like, "Man, if I don't stick up for myself, somebody's gonna, like, just it's just gonna be people back to back to back that just think they can just mess with you and mess with you, and you're just gonna be known as, like a gump, basically." So, that was my thinking in prison was like, "I can't take no shit," but really, I mean, it's not bad thinking to have it. Now when I look back, it's almost like you just don't need to put yourself in the situations where you don't have to take no shit, because there's people in there that don't wanna fight, they're calm, they're cool, they're collected, and, hang around them and, things go good, but yeah.
Now, a lot of people have a hard time rebuilding after prison with, say, a murder conviction on their record or other violent offenses. How are you able to do that?
Yeah, so, like, you know, being in prison, the only thing you think about is coming home. You don't think about, like, okay, yeah, you're going home, but you have to start a life, right? Like, I was a kid when I got locked up, and I'm coming home a grown man, right? So, it's like I wasn't thinking about how hard it was gonna be for me to do something that I wanna do, right? Like, get a job that I feel good working. So, it was really hard when I got out. It was really, really hard to find something that fitted what like, these high hopes that I had for myself, because when you're in prison, everybody's like, "Imma get out and Imma do this, Imma do that, Imma get this kinda car, da 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 da," and then it's like, okay, you get out, and it's like, like, things are moving so fast, and, everything's going, like, a million miles an hour around you, and it's just like, damn, I never even thought about this part, like having to go start looking for jobs, having to explain in every job interview, like, I got a murder on my background, um, and explain without justifying, because it's easy to be like, I have a murder on my background, but all I did was hit somebody and he died, but I still killed somebody, right? Like, so it started to become this thing where it was like, do I tell him or do I not tell him? Because when I tell him, everybody's like, like, "Oh my gosh, like, that's so unfortunate," and, like, kinda that type of vibe, but then I never get a call back, right? Like, it's like, "Oh, I thought they liked me," like, they, like, kinda I thought we, like, kinda connected over the job or whatever, and I never got a call back, but and then when I don't tell them, like, "Oh, you got anything on your back?" I'm like, "Nope." I'm like, "Okay." And then I don't get a call back then, because it ends up coming back. So, um, yeah, that was really hard, but before we, like, go to, like, getting out of prison, um, July 18th of 2018, I still remember the day because it was 3 days after my birthday. So we're out on flag, and one of my best friends, that I said I call him my brother, like, that was with me the night that I caught my case, he ended up getting charged with, a drive-by shooting, and they gave him, like, 17 and a half years. So he comes home in May, he's been down, like, 12 years now, and he's young too, we're all, like, he's 31 now, but anyway, so he gets to Stillwater, and he had just came from Faribault, and I'm like, "Hey, like, Imma get us in the cell together," and so he's like, "Alright," because in there you can do that, you can move cells if you want to or whatever, so We get in the cell together, and he's just every day he's cooking fried rice, he's making spaghetti, he's making hot pockets, he's just making like every day he's cooking something. I told him like, bro, you gotta stop cooking like that because we go on lockdown here a lot. Like, and you really don't know, we don't know why we're getting locked down, and you don't know how long. You kind of just tell how long you're gonna be locked down for by the size of your garbage bag that they put on your bars at night. So like you'll wake up in the morning and it might be a big ass industrial sized garbage bag on your bars. Like I know we're gonna be in here for at least a couple weeks, right? But if there's like just a little miniature one, probably just a day or two, we're gonna be locked down. So I'm telling him all this shit, and he's like, okay, like yeah, I feel that, all right. So all of a sudden, July 18th comes, and I hear the ICS go off, like dee doo dee doo dee doo dee doo. So like, that means like there's a fight or there's a riot or something, somebody's getting stabbed, something. And now, mind you, my first day in Stillwater, I seen a CO get chased. They tried to stab the CO. It was this guy in there with a knife, and like the CO like ran out of the unit and he threw the knife at the CO. And so I knew this is gonna be a crazy bid in Stillwater. Like so, all of a sudden, the guard comes over the intercom screaming, "Lock down, lock down." We're like, "What the fuck's going on?" So all of a sudden, like I said, it's bars. So I'm on like what the second galley, and all you hear is turn it to channel 5, turn it to channel 9. Like all these are news channels 4, 5, 9, 11. And so we turn to whatever, Care 11 or whatever what it was. I see it's a helicopter flying above Stillwater. And I'm like, what the fuck happened? Stillwater guard killed. Somebody killed the guard in prison, beat him with the hammer and stabbed him. And I was crazy because at this time I was working in laundry, which laundry was like probably the best job in there because I can go to every single unit and see people, right? Because in Stillwater, it's like ran by like gangs and cliques. So if somebody is into it, like if you're a blood and you're into it with the Crip, all right, the Bloods are in A West, the Crips are in A East, right? Like, so it's just, and that's just an example, right? But so that's how they split shit up, and you can tell them like, oh, I'm from here, and they'll move you to the unit where all your friends are, right, or your people's at. So, um, yeah, so I'm doing laundry and I get to see everybody. And so I knew the guy that killed the guard because they put his name was Mama. They put his picture on the news, and he had like an eye patch and shit. So he'd been down 20 years. He had 3 years left. He was in for murder. And when he first started his bid, he told the COs, "Don't pop my cell." Like I guess he was into it with some like native guys, and he's like, "Don't pop my cell." I guess the COs still popped his cell. Some natives ran in his room and they got into it and they ended up taking his eye out. And 20 years later, like the day of, like, the anniversary of his eye getting taken out, 20 years prior, he kills a guard in welding because, there's different vocational classes. So Stillwater has welding and, heavy machinery, different shit. The COs are doing the rounds, and all of a sudden, and like I didn't see this. This was in welding. I'm in, my unit, but it was in the same prison. I guess he stabbed him and then beat him with the hammer with the claw part of the hammer, beat him to death with the hammer, and then the guard that was doing the round with him, because they do two guards walk around together because there's weapons, like technically I guess there's weapons in there. So the guards seen him getting beat and ran out and left him basically. So um when we heard that the guard got killed and they showed a picture, his name was Joseph Gom was the guard's name. Like football Sundays, whenever the Vikings score a touchdown and everybody's in their cell, you hear like, oh, everybody like starts screaming and beating on their desk. And, whenever a touchdown scored, like that's what you would have thought happened. Like there was like some like touchdown or we won the Super Bowl or something, the way people started screaming. And everybody's cheering, fuck that CO, fuck him, fuck y'all, this and that. So now these other COs are hearing everybody and they're screaming, and which is crazy that they're, this guy just got killed and they're all in here screaming and happy about it, right? So um they end up locking us down from July 18th. I don't know the exact day, but we came out sometime mid-October. 24-hour lockdown in the middle of the summer in Stillwater prison. There's no AC. Like there's not AC, just there's no AC in Stillwater, so it's always really hot. Um, and you get a fan, like you can buy a fan. So like me and my brother both had a fan and we were locked down in the cell together. And his ass been cooking like a crazy person, all the damn food. So food's starting to get short, because I'm relying on canteen every Wednesday to like re-up. And now we don't get no canteen. We don't get like they was holding our mail. We ate peanut butter and jellies for like a week straight for like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Or no, just breakfast and dinner because we only had 2 meals. And it was rough. Like we didn't shower for like 2 weeks, so we're just like bird bathing in the cell. People are throwing shit off the galley, like shitting oh, I don't know how they're doing it. I assume they're probably shitting in the toilet and then scooping it with the milk carton versus, putting a milk carton under their ass and shitting in a milk carton. So, but they're filling it up with shit and piss, throwing it off the galley. It's hitting the floor, and people live on the bottom level, right? So now everybody's screaming like it's pissy. They're opening their Kool-Aid packets, like shaking them up in the bottle, throwing bombs. So now it's like dyeing the floors. Like grape Kool-Aid is dyeing it purple, and cherry fruit punch is all red, and the floors it was garbage everywhere, and it just smelled so nasty. And when we finally came out for showers after like 2 weeks, um, I got to see what the flag looked like. And it was just nasty. And it's like, bro, like these COs aren't about to clean this shit up. Like they're fine with making us live in our own filth. And y'all are just adding to it every single day. Like there'll be people pissing, like trying to piss off the galley, like trying to piss on the kiosk and shit, like for the tablets and stuff. Just crazy. And I bring this up because this was like a pivotal part. This one little situation right here kind of told me a lot about prison and how fucked up prison can be to people. Because so like I said, we've been locked down for months, right? And the cell above me is Anthony, the guy that I told you got slammed in Elmore Academy and had the hole in his chin. He ended up coming to prison, and he was in the cell right above me and my brother, and he had a cellie in there. And so if you're like, standing at your bars, like there's windows, like the wall is windows. And so at night, when they shut the lights off in the unit, if you have your cell light on, I can see the reflection of everything you're doing in your room. It's just like a mirror, basically. And so I I hear Anthony whispering to his cellie, like, man, you're good. Like, stop, bro. Like, you're good. Like, and the guy's like, no, like, I'm gonna, like, I don't know exactly what he was saying, but then all of a sudden I hear, like, because my brother Momo's like, bro, like, what the fuck's going on? You see this shit? And I started looking in the windows. I take my earbud out and I get up by the bars and I'm like listening. And because they're right up in the cell, like directly above us, and I'm listening. And he's like, please, Anthony, I don't want to die. Like, I don't want to die. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck's going on up there? And the kid, he was a young native kid. He slit his wrists in the cell with his cellie, cut his wrists deep. And I guess he started bleeding out. And Anthony's screaming, CO, CO, help, like, we need help. But it's almost like the boy who cried wolf, right? Because so many people have been pranking the COs, like, CO, I need help, I'm having a seizure in 504. And then they come and or the guys sleep, right? So it's like, they don't know if they can trust it or not. So Anthony screaming, CO, help, help, he's dying up here, he's dying. And nobody came for a little while. And then I guess people could kind of tell by like the urgency in his voice that maybe this is like true. So all of a sudden the COs just walk up there, they see him. Long story short, they end up bringing in the stretcher, carrying the kid out. He ended up surviving. But then after they carried the kid out, somebody was like, "Hey, Ant." And then Anthony was like, "What's up?" And he was like, "You's a bitch." And he was like, "What?" And he was like, "You should have let him kill himself." And I told my brother, like, bro, like, I ain't say nothing. I just let them, that ain't my business to get into. But I told my brother, Momo, like, bro, like, you hear how heartless this shit is? Like, imagine what Anthony would have had on his mental and on his mind and on his heart, knowing that his cellie just killed himself. And before he died, he was asking to get saved. He was asking to, like, get me help. He was telling you, I don't want to die, right? And you said, basically, fuck you. Like, you shouldn't have did it, whatever, right? And that just a little situation, is crazy how certain things can kind of expose shit to you, right? Just that little situation was was a story that I'll never forget. And I'll never forget how disgusted I felt. Not with him, but even just with myself being in this situation, right? Like, I'm around a bunch of people that ain't got no hearts, right? Don't care. Like, they don't care. And it was almost like I was grateful that I only had a year left, because I came home June 3rd of 2019. So I had, yeah, about a year left. I was grateful that, like, man, I'm getting out of here, because when you're in prison, you're just going along with the day, like, and I was like selling bags in there. Like, if you needed like a $60 bag or something, like you lost on the poker table, or you got cracked and you got to pay the casino guy for the games, you could come and get a bag from me, um, like $40, $20, $60. Anything over like 60, you would have to send the money. The money would have to get sent. Like, so your girl would send my girl, or send somebody that is with me, they would send them the money, right? And then they would get the bag or whatever. And I was making like pretty good money just doing that, right? Um so because um I guess I didn't really get to that either, but so like my girlfriend that was there the whole time for me, like she did like maybe like 3.5, 4 years, and then like one day she just stopped answering, and it was like, Dan, everybody was telling me like, bro, she's not gonna wait for you. I'm like, yes, she is gonna wait for me. Like, she's out there fucking. Like, no, she's not fucking on me. She's doing good. Like, she comes up here 3 times a week and da 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 da. And I'm trying to explain to them how much of a good girl she is, and she's different, and but it was like, and I respect the fact that, you know, I respect that, she wanted to get on with her life, right? It was really just the way she kind of went about it. Like, you could have easily told me, like, hey, I really just can't do this anymore. Like, I can't keep waiting. Like, I want to, like, your life is on pause. Mine shouldn't have to be on pause, right? And so I would have respected it had I got some type of a warning that, like, all right, this is going downhill. Like, the last thing I knew, everything was good. Like, we've been together at this point like over like around 10 years or something like that. And it was just like one day she was just gone. And I'm like, damn. And everybody knew her because I was always in the visiting room. So like the COs knew her, everything. And they're like, hey Jesse, where's your girlfriend at? Like, I haven't seen you in the visiting room in a while. And it's like, she's on vacation. Cause I was like I was young and prideful. Like, I was like, I didn't want people to know like she just left the shit out of me. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's gone. But it was like, yeah, so I had to deal with that, like that heartbreak in prison. And it was the worst shit I've ever dealt with. Like, it made me start to realize for other people, like, I'd see men crying on the phone, like, "Please just answer my calls." And, you feel bad, but it's like, "Oh, I can't relate. My girl's here. My girl's answering every call. Like, there's money on the phone. There's money on my book. She comes to see me." Until, like, she left and everything crashed down. No more money, no more visits, like, unless it's, my mom or, like, somebody like that. No more visits. Um No more none of that. So it's just like, damn. And then, obviously when you come home, then it's like, "Oh, hey, I'm back. Hey, what's going on? You look good. And how you been doing?" And da 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 da. But yeah, it was like, I had to like kind of figure out how to still maintain without her. So I was getting drugs in prison and stuff, and I was selling drugs in prison for a little while, just for a little bit, 'cause I ultimately ended up going to seg for refusing to take a UA because me and my guy was in the cell smoking. But yeah,
So tell us about after prison, once you got
after.
out. Yeah, what'd you do, about 6.5 years, 7 years total?
Yeah, 6 years, 9 months. So I got out. Like I said, like, you just want out. You're not thinking about what you're gonna do when you get out. Well, I wasn't thinking about what I was gonna do and how much this murder charge was gonna affect my future, right? So I'm putting it in all these places because I have to get a job because it's part of my parole. I had 40 months of parole to do. So I had to get a job. So I nowhere would hire me. Like I said, like, I'd go into interviews and I'd tell them, be honest and straightforward with them, and they would, accept it, and acknowledge like they'd acknowledge the situation, but then I'd never get a call back. And then I wouldn't tell them, and then I still wouldn't get a call back. So at that time, my mom was the district manager of like Five Guys. So she was like, "Look, like, I see you're really trying to get a job. I'll give you a job at Five Guys." And I was driving, so she ended up giving me the job. I was driving like 35 minutes, 30 minutes every day back and forth to work for $13 an hour. And, I mean, at the time, it was okay because, I mean, I just went from getting paid 25 cents an hour in prison to making $13 an hour. So it was like, damn, every 2 weeks I'm getting like $800. So it seemed like it was okay. And then I was living with my mom, like, because I got locked up as a kid. So I got to come home and be a grown man and I got to get a credit. I got to like start building my credit. I need to get a phone. Like, well, I guess my mom had brought a phone for me, but it's like prison showed me how to be independent. So when I got out, it was like, yes, I was appreciative for the help, but I knew that this wasn't going to be something that I just leaned on, right? It was just something for now until I can get up fully on my feet, and then I'll be good, right? And so doing that, flipping burgers at Five Guys for $13 an hour, driving 30 minutes. Did that for a few months. They ended up, like, giving me a manager job, bumped me up to $16 an hour, and I'm like, "Eh, it just ain't worth it anymore." Like, it's just driving too much, and I smell like grease every day, and I'm not like, I just didn't like the flipping burger. Like, I just didn't wanna do that, right? And so then I got into started doing some roofing, trying to put my vocational stuff, my vocational certificates to use that I learned or that I earned, and went to this roofing company. They ended up like hiring me, and the first day they're like, "All right, get up there." And I'm thinking like they're gonna give me like a harness and like clip me in. It was nothing. Like they're like, "Oh, like climb up like same way Brad over there is doing it." And I'm like, the fuck? Like, I've never did this before. Like, how you expect me? Like, look, if you're gonna do this, man, you gotta get broke in now. And I'm like, all right. So I get up there and I'm shaking and like the wind's blowing and it just don't seem sturdy. And I'm like, man, I'm gonna fall. And if I fall, like, I'm really gonna break some bones in my body. And it didn't make it any better that the guy that I was working with is just flying through it. And I'm like, like a damn sloth, like, on the thing, like, scooting my body down this board or this 2 by 4, and I'm like, "Yeah, this don't work." So, I left that, and it was like all the good jobs kept turning me down, so it almost, like, made me turn to hustling, and I started, I got into drugs, and, I got really deep into drugs and started selling, like, larger amounts of drugs, and, me and my brother, uh, AKA, like, my best friend, um, we got into drugs, started selling these drugs, and, started making a lot of money, and the city that we was in was really like, my brother kinda had everything, like, locked up out there, like, it was so I was like, like, I need to go find my own place to do this at." So, I had a guy that lived in the state next to me, one of the states next to me, and he's like, "Yeah, like, I know people, just come out here, bring everything you got." And I did that, and I started making just unbelievable amounts of money, where it was like, I'll never go back to working, like, um, so I had, like, my little operation set up really good where I went out there, I got it rolling, um, and I got people calling the phone, and, I had a little flip phone, I got them calling the phone, and I would work for a week, meaning, like, I'd go out there and sell drugs for a week, and then when I would leave, I'd give the phone to my guy just so it could stay rolling, and just there's always, like, money and drugs, like, we're never running out. So, my guy would do the selling when I go so I can go home, take care of things I need to take care of at home, and, then I'd come back, I'd have more, and then he'd have at least 10,000 for me right when I walk in, so then that'll get put away, and because I was driving, like, a little over 2 hours, 2.5 hours, away, and so I'd get that, put that up, get my hotel room, and now I'd start like, working, and so a lot of times I'd go home most times, I would go home with at least 30,000 dollars in a week, and one time I went and I said, "I'm just gonna bring a load of drugs, and I'm not coming home until I'm done," right? And I ended up making like 60,000, a little over $60,000. And the scariest part, like, was never driving with drugs, cause never smoked in the car, and I always, like, had them hidden, right? So but with the money, you can't hide that much money, so it would be like my whole center compartment might be full of money, like, money, and then I got started getting these lock boxes, but then the money started, like, it was like, "I'm gonna need a few of these lock boxes, and that's gonna look suspicious." So, um, yeah, like I said, everything was going good till one day my brother that I had more my one of my homies out there that I had put on ended up getting popped, and, he got caught up, but that's because he started getting real sloppy and started, he's just doing too much, and, he got caught up, and I ended up getting him gave him the money for his retainer for his lawyer, and he ended up going, like, back to prison, and we all met in prison, like, my guy, we ended up meeting in prison in the first place, so he ended up going back to prison, and, that scared me, obviously, because we were working hand in hand, basically, I just didn't live there, so I left for, maybe a few weeks, and then, I decided to go back out there and keep hustling, so I did that. Cause once you get that taste of that type of money, it's like it's it's hard to not go until it's like I'm either gonna get jammed up or I'm gonna keep getting this money, right? Like, cause it's like, you go on a trip and blow $20,000, but it's like, okay, you just blew a lot of money, but I know that even though I might not have a lot of money left in, like, liquid cash, I've got a lot of drugs at home that I'm gonna sell once I get back home. So that's technically money, it's just up in the air right now. But, yeah. So, yeah, I started selling drugs and got deep into drugs, and that came with drug usage. I got addicted to Percocets, real Percocets, like prescription pills. Um and the money and like music, you hear like all these rappers talking about perks, and so you almost look at it like um like it's a cool thing, like drinking lean. Like I never really got into lean, but perks I got into really hard. And people would tell me like, man, like you just as good as people that do fentanyl, like you look down on them, but um it's basically the same shit, like, it's all the same type of like, when they go through withdrawal and I go through withdrawal, it's probably the same feeling, maybe theirs might be maybe a little worse because I know those are, like, a little stronger than the prescription perks, but, man, I still feel like a junkie, even though I got enough money, and it's like, I used to tell people, like, "Bro, you couldn't afford to have my habit." Like, I was at first, I'd get a script of 100, I'd sell 50 and keep 50. Then it got to a point where I couldn't sell them anymore. I had to do them. I was doing usually like 6 pink 10s, so like a 10 milligram Percocet, 6 of them at a time, like 5, maybe like 4 or 5 times a day. So now I'm going through like maybe 25, 30 some pills a day, and my scripts are running out really fast, so I gotta kinda stretch them so I can never really get high anymore. It was like I was just, like, getting myself good, but I always had the money to buy these scripts, so, I had one lady that she had access to these other, like, her other friends or whatever, they were these older, like, diabetic ladies that were, like, in wheelchairs and stuff, and they used to always sell her well, they'd give her the pills to sell, and I would come in, and she knows she just call me, and it doesn't matter if they're 5s or 10s or micros, or it doesn't matter what they are, I'm just gonna buy them. And so, like, 1 pink 10 is, like, $20 for a pill, but buying them wholesale, I'm getting them for, like, $12, right? So if I get 100, I'm paying $1,200, or maybe I might get them for 13, so I'm paying 1,300, right? Um, but I'd go and cash her out however much she's got, but then, it just leads into sloppy shit because now I'm doing so many, I'm starting to run out, and they don't get another script until the 14th. So now I gotta go to my guy in over north in Minneapolis, then I gotta go to this person and I don't know if who they're getting their pills from. I don't know if they're pressed, I don't know if they're, um, legit or if they're fake. I'm really just going off of their word, hoping that, like, they fuck with me tough enough where they wouldn't do that to me because they know how many I take, where if these were to be fake, I would probably die, right? But yeah, I mean, it got really bad.
Obviously, you don't sell drugs now, so what
No.
did you transition into?
Yeah, you said wait, what'd you say?
What did you transition into?
No, what'd you say before that?
Oh,
Obviously.
obviously, you don't sell drugs
Yeah,
now.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what I was gonna get to. So, one day, I had brought my son out to Miami to, see, like, my dad, his grandpa and his grandma and everybody, and, we were going shopping. It was, like, me, my son, and his mom. My son's mom were shopping, just blowing money because it, like, didn't even matter because I was just gonna make it right back, and then came back. I had to leave to Houston for a birthday party, my brother's party, so go to Houston, like, literally, like, right when I get back, I'm right back at the airport going to Houston. Blew probably I don't even know, I don't even wanna think about, like, just all the money I've went through, but so then I'm like, "Shit, gotta get home, gotta hustle." I knew I still had a nice, a nice amount of drugs at home that were waiting for me, and I knew, like, my people, like, they're waiting on me to come, so finally get done with Houston, get home, get on the road, bring the drugs out to where I'm going, and just got out into the city, and I'm on the FaceTime with one of my guys, and I'm like, "Bro, what the fuck?" Like, every time I had a Durango, like a 2020, nice Durango, whatever, but it's the only time I've ever drove my car out there, and because normally I get rentals, but I'm thinking this day, like, they've never seen my Durango before, so they're just gonna think it's a rental, because that's what they say, like, "Smooth, every time we see you, you're in a new car, no, 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 no," but they're just obviously, they're just rentals, right? Like, "You keep us on our toes, we never know what you're coming in," and da 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 da. So, I pull up in my truck, and I hit 2 stains, like, I go see one like, 2 of my normal custos, go see him, and I'm on the phone with my guy on Face, I'm like, "Bro, every time I see a cop, they bust a Yui." I'm like, "Something's going on, like, it's some weird shit going on out here." So, I hurry up, get to the hotel, I get checked in, throw my shit in the room. Now the drugs are in the bottom of my duffel bag. I got a bunch of clothes over it, clean clothes, smell like laundry soap or whatever. The drugs don't really have a smell. It's not weed, right? So they're like, um, so yeah, I end up seeing these cops busting Uis all the time. So I end up getting to the hotel. I'm about to go into the hotel and like just relax for a minute. I had just made 2 sales, and now I'm about to go, like, probably go roll up or something, and all of a sudden, I'm like, "Fuck, I don't got no woods, I need to go get some backwoods." So, the gas station is right down the road from my hotel. So, I hurry up, run to the gas station, run in, come out, boom, across the street, there's a Space Aliens. I see a cop sitting in the parking lot, and it's nighttime. It's, like, probably, like, 9:30, 10 o'clock, and he's got his lights off, and so I'm like, "Okay." So I get in my truck, and this is January, 2023. So it's really cold out there, January, it's when you winter's just like winters out here, and, they're like, I pull out of the holiday gas station that I was at, he pulls out of the Space Aliens, and so there was a car behind me that ends up pulling out behind me, and so now there's a car in between me and this cop car, so I hit it, like, brrr, and I got like, a good Hemi in my truck, and so I'm just flying through the snow, brrr, hurry up, pull into the, hotel. I got, like, I had my woods and then a bag, like, with, like, I don't know, like, a jug of milk, some cereal, cause I love cereal, so I had some snacks from my hotel room, and I hurry up, I see the cop is like I could see him behind the car, and I know he's probably trying to come for me. So I get to the hotel, hop out, put it in park, lock the door. I got a half ounce of weed in my center console. I had my perks and some more pills, and I threw them in my nuts. And I left the weed in the car and shut the door, locked it, started walking. Cop pulls into the parking lot and hits his lights as I'm literally almost to the door. And now I'm in just like a purple jumpsuit, like a hoodie and sweats, and then some Crocs. And he's like, "Oh, stop right there, stop right there." So I'm like, "What's going on?" He's like, "It seems like you were zipping around a little bit." That's what the cop had said to me. I'm like, I'm like, "Did you get a speed on me?" I'm like, "I don't think I was speeding." He's like, "No, I couldn't get a speed on you, but, this is my city. I know the limits around here, and I can tell you were zipping around." And so I was, "Okay, well, I mean, if you don't got like me, if you don't got a speed on me, then what? How do we handle this then?" And he's like, "Those tints look really dark on your car." He's like doing anything he can to try to like keep me there. And I'm like, "Okay." He's like, "You mind opening your door so I can test them?" I'm like, "No, just give me the ticket." Like, I know they're dark, like, they're what, like 20% or something like that, 10%. I know the legal limit in Minnesota is 50. So you can just give me the ticket because I know what you're trying to do, right? Like, and I'm not saying like I know what you're trying to do to him, but I'm just telling him, like, give me the ticket because I know you just want to have me open the door and see if you can get a whiff of anything, so now you can search. So I'm like, "I'll just take the ticket." He's like, "I don't wanna give you a ticket if they're not, above the limit, like, da, 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 da." And I'm like, "Look, this is my truck, I know that they're dark, right?" So he's like, "Alright." Now whole time I'm on the phone with, my kid's mom, and at this time, me and her were together, and I'm talking to her, I'm just, like, kinda sitting there, and she's like, "Are you good?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like, I'm straight. They're just writing me these tickets." And all of a sudden, my phone dies. And they're like, "Oh, you got your insurance on you?" But my insurance is on my phone, like the Progressive app. So they end up writing me that ticket, like, "Oh, you're just getting a ticket for, no valid insurance. You can just send us proof that you had it at the time of the pullover, and we'll take that off. We'll drop that. You're gonna get the tint ticket." And, that was it. I was okay. Never said anything about, like, smelling weed or, like, anything like that. All of a sudden, I start seeing traffic, like, in the hotel. I start seeing people in plain clothes walking in and out of the hotel. And so I'm kinda just standing there and it's cold as shit out. I'm like, "What the fuck's going on?" And all of a sudden, they, walk up to me, one of the guys, he's in plain clothes, and he's like, "Hey, my name's Officer Chickus. We're gonna be doing a bringing a dog to do a sniff around your car." Um, so I was like, I'm like, how did this just go from a traffic stop to now you're bringing a dog? Nobody even like said they smelled weed or asked if I was smoking weed, nothing like that. And he's like, yeah, well, I'll tell you more about that later. So long story short, they run the dog around my car like 7 times, and now I know, like, m I know more about my case now because, like, I have all my discovery and, like, all my videos and, like, from, like, the cops talking, I can whatever, like, hear them on the video, whatever. So anyway, long story short, bang, run the dog around the car like 7 times. They keep bringing him over to the tree, let him take a piss, bring him back, running around, and I don't see the dog, like, I think they, like, sit or, like, they, like, jump or scratch or do some shit like that. I don't see none of that, right? So, cop comes up to the, cop car. I'm not arrested, I'm in the back seat, but I'm only sitting there because 'cause I'm freezing cold. I don't got a coat or anything on, I just got a jumpsuit on. So, I'm just sitting in the back of the car, not saying shit to the cops. He come back there, boom, um, "Yeah, can we get your keys?" And I was like, "Well, did the dog hit?" And they're like, "No, he didn't hit." And I was, "Okay, well then, why do you need my keys?" They're like, "Well, we could smell marijuana coming from your car." And I'm like, "Well, we had been standing here for like 45 minutes, going round and round about these tickets, and nobody ever said nothing about smelling any weed. And now you're telling me that you smell weed in my car." And they're like, "Oh, look, man, look, it's just weed. That's it. You're not gonna go to jail for weed, like da 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 da." And I'm like, "Look, I don't feel comfortable giving you my keys. Um, I'm not agreeing to no search." And my keys were in my sweater, like the pocket right here. My lanyard was hanging out the pocket, and they snatched the keys out my pocket, took it, unlocked the car, found the weed in the center console, right? So now they run this same dog that couldn't smell a half ounce of weed in, a confined space like a truck, couldn't smell it. Now they run this same dog up in my hotel room. I had a suite, so it was a big, room, and my duffel bag was in the back room, back bedroom, and the drugs were in the bottom of the duffel bag inside of a pair of sweatpants pockets folded up. And so I'm like, "Fuck, I hope they do not go." Now I kinda know, like, alright, this is bigger than just some traffic shit. This is like somebody told on me or something, right? So then they end up running the dog. They say that alright, so there's no cameras on the second floor of this hotel as they have the dog do the free air sniff because that's not against right. They have that's not against, like, the law for them to bring a dog and do a free air sniff. They can do that regardless, right? But they can't search unless the dog hits. They cut their body cameras off, said that they got an alert from the dog on room 219 that I was staying in, and so that's why they got so then the video cuts out from there's no I don't see the dog, smelling in front of the door. All I see is them opening the door to my room, like, on my discovery video or whatever. So, they obviously end up finding the drugs. They find, like, almost about 2,000 pills they found in there, and come down there, Officer Chick or Detective Chickus is like, you wanna talk to me about" and I'm in the back of the cop car still, he's like, "You wanna talk to me about what we found in your room?" And I was like, "I don't know what was in the room." Like, he's like, "Come on, Smooth," because some people call, like, just a nickname or whatever. He's like, "Come on, Smooth, you don't come on, you sound a lot smoother than that." Just talking a little shit to me, right? And so I'm like, I really don't know anything. I don't know what's going on. I thought I was pulled over for a ticket. Y'all took my keys, like, y'all searched my car." And he kinda seen that I was being a little combative with him, so he obviously knew, like, okay, he's not friendly with us, right? So, boom, and he shut the door. Oh, before they shut the door, they asked me, like, "You got anything on you?" Like, because if you do, it's a Class B felony the minute you pass through that garage, because now you're gonna be getting booked on, distribution with intent to deliver. Yeah, I think that was what it was, yeah. Um So or possession with intent to deliver, or some one of those charges, but so I'm like, "Nope," because at this time, I'm already thinking like, "Man, I'm already fucked, like, why would I give you," and I need my pills because like, I have to be good, Imma be sick in jail, and, so anyway, it just ended up working out this way because the cop, it's cold as shit, and, the divider between, like, the cop in the front and me in the back, the glass, I can't feel none of the heat hitting me, so I at this time, I wasn't cuffed yet because they hadn't came down and said they found anything yet. So I'm really just being, like, detained, so I don't have cuffs on, I'm just sitting back there, so it gave me an excuse to put my arms in my my sweater, right? So, and I'm watching myself on this guy's laptop. It's like, the camera for the back seat. I can see just in the little corner, I can see me right there. So I'm not trying to do like big movements, but I'm trying to push the pills, like tuck the pills away, right? And, but I can't like, it sounds weird as hell, but it's hard to get the pills in between your, like into your ass from the front, right? Cause not like I can be in the cop car going like, they're gonna be like, "The fuck you doing back there?" So I had my arms in my sleeves and I was like, just like trying to push them as far as I could without being like obvious that I'm doing something. And and no, the pills weren't in my ass. They were like just deep in between my ass cheeks, right? So they're like, "Yeah, there's a body scanner in there, everybody thinks they can outsmart it and they think we're lying, and then all of a sudden we get to the jail and they see the scanner and, they get caught up and they're fighting another charge." And so when I walked in, the first thing I looked for was like, "Damn, do they really got a body scanner?" And right when I walked in, the first thing I seen was that damn body scanner. I was like, "Fuck." And like you stand on it and just like slides you through this little thing, and they slid me like, put me on it, slid me through, and the CO, he kinda seemed like he was, like, one of the cooler COs that worked in the jail, so I don't know if, like, maybe it was, like, like the airport when you go through the thing and it'd be, like, if like, a little yellow blob on the screen and they come, like, pat you down or whatever. I don't know if maybe there was, like, they seen something or if because it wasn't in my body technically, like, since it was just between my cheeks, maybe it's just like a scanner that only sees, like, your insides. So I don't know how, but he's like, "Alright, you're good. Go to that cell over there. We're gonna get you stripped out." So now I done made it past that. Now I gotta make it past getting like, stripped out butt naked in front of a CO. So I'm hoping he's gonna be the one to strip me out because he seemed kinda cool. And like I had said earlier, I used to like get drugs and had like drugs in prison, and I was, that was from the visiting room. So I was kind of familiar with like how to try to get away with some shit. So I like um he started stripping me out, and the pills are still in between my cheeks, and I take off my shirt, boom, give him my shirt, whatever, take off my pants, and he's like, "All right, let's go, hands, mouth, lift your nuts, turn around, squat, cough." But when I squatted, instead of like, bending both of your knees, because then, like your cheeks spread and if there's anything up there, it falls out. Instead of doing that, I like bent one knee and kept the other knee like straight. So I looked like I was like kind of crippled a little bit. And then if you would have been like, "Oh, like what the fuck? Like why can't you?" I would just said like, "Oh, I shot my leg," or something why I can't bend down like that. But he like when I did it, he kind of like looked at me for a second. He was like, "All right, here, put this on." Oh, I had to like take a little shower with the like lice shit or whatever they make you do, and then boom, and then I realized like, damn, I just made it like into this jail, and I got like 250 pills on me. The drugs were just like, I was really thankful because they kind of just kept me good while I was in there. Obviously, I'm not gonna go around telling people like I got shit, because then, it's probably gonna get out. Somebody say something to a CO, and now I'm fighting, a whole nother case. But um, I ended up getting out. They gave me a $10,000 cash bond. Bonded out. Like the same day they gave me my bond. Got picked up. Went home. Um, Now I'm fighting this case. Ended up getting a good lawyer. His name, well, it doesn't matter his name. Ended up getting a good lawyer, $14,000. And he told me, like, if this case happened the way that you just told me it happened, then, we got a really good case to work with. So long story short, he filed a motion to suppress the evidence that was found in the car and in the hotel room because of the dog being like, it kind of made the dog look faulty that it missed this weed that was in the car, but now it's up at this room, like hitting on a door on a substance that doesn't have any type of smell, and that it wasn't trained for at the time. Like the dog had no certifications for any type of opiates or opioids. So um, filed the motion to suppress. We ended up winning the motion. Well, we didn't win it. Once we filed it, the prosecutor came and had a meeting with my lawyer and told my lawyer that he thinks we probably got a 60% chance to win the motion to suppress. Now, if a prosecutor's like laying his cards and exposing his hand that we think that it's in your favor that you're gonna win, it's really probably like a 90% chance that I would have ended up winning the motion to suppress. And if I would have won that, the case would have just been thrown out. So he ended up saying, would you take a deferred prosecution, 2 years probation, and go to treatment? And because I'm the one that recommended treatment to my lawyer. And my lawyer was like, would you take this? He's like, honestly, we probably got a 90% chance to beat this case, but you're not from out here. It's a smaller town, and you're from out, in Minnesota by the cities. They don't like outsiders coming in here and selling drugs to their community. So what if the judge says it doesn't matter? No, motion to suppress denied, right? And now we just gave them the ball back, right? Right now we got the ball. So it's up to you. And so I just said, he's like, if you think you can make it through 2 years of probation, then I would take it. But if you feel like, and I was like, I'm just gonna take it. So I ended up taking, and I just wanted to be done with it. Like it was so stressful because at this time I had a kid, and I was on drugs really, really bad, and I had to just figure something out, right? So I ended up taking the deal, went to treatment for like 30 something, 40 days or something like that. I got sober, and that was 2 years ago now. I think it was 2024, I believe, January 20, or when I took the deal, it was, I don't know, like May or something like that, a couple years ago. But and I've been sober ever since then, and I feel way better, and I don't sell drugs no more. Even though it was really hard to go from making the type of money that I was making to, now I have a really good paying job. I work with the union in manufacturing. I get paid really good money. I make really good money now, which I'm fortunate for that. But it was still a big pay cut, obviously, from making what I used to make. But that case scared the shit out of me. And, I've got a lot of my friends now that I used to sell drugs with. I'm literally the only one that's home. Um, Everybody caught cases. Like, the feds were coming down and like picking people up, and state was coming down. People were getting set up. People were working for the state, working for the government. and everybody was just getting picked off left and right, and literally, like, it was like I woke up one day and I didn't have any more of my guys. Like, we all in the beginning, we were all had this big thing going, and then it was just like, you wake up one day and, oh, damn, he's gone, and now he just caught a case, and then he got picked up, and he got picked up, and I'm the only one that, like, and had the police not handled it the way they handled it, had they just kinda sat back, watched me, like, make sales, bust the people that I've sold to, the people, they're gonna tell on me. They're gonna say, "This is the guy, he gave me this," or whatever, and then they're gonna be like, "Okay, we're gonna give you $300, go buy some more." And then you keep getting them sales, and now there's really nothing that I can do because you've got me on sales charges, right? From a confidential informant that you had set me up. But the way they did it is the minute they had got a warrant for my phone location. So the minute they seen me get on 94 West, they're like, "Oh, he's coming out here." And so that's why, like, when I said I got in the city, I kept seeing cops busting you. He's trying to get with me. It's because they had my phone pinged. So, yeah. So after now it's like shit. Ended up having 2 more kids. So I got 3 kids in total now, and it's like now I look back, like, I couldn't imagine being in prison right now and being away from my son, or catching a case. Like, the money's good, but it ain't worth it. I know if I would've went to prison, I would've been regretting all that money and all the trips and all the nice clothes and shoes and cars and everything that I've gotten. I would've regretted everything. I would've wanted to trade it all back, just to have my freedom and flip burgers or something, right? So, but yeah, like I said, now I'm sober, clean, I got a good job, got a family, own a house. Um, so there is hope, like, for success after prison. Success doesn't mean you go on to become a millionaire, or you go on to get a big podcast and be in the top 1% or whatever. Like, success is just being able to, my interpretation of success is being able to provide for your children, provide for your family legally, pay your taxes, and stay out the way, right? And my kids, they don't see the difference in me coming home making $1,500 a week versus me making $20,000 a week. They don't know the difference between that, So to them, I'm dad and I'm a superhero, right? So that's where my success is at, is that I'm staying out the way. I caught a blessing for real, because normally shit like that don't happen, especially with the type of run that I had. It doesn't happen like that, where you get away with it and are out to tell the story and watch old videos and whatever, right? It's like you're reminiscing from in prison, right? Just like my brothers that call me all the time are, "Man, send me that picture and we was down in Miami in the strip club and da 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 da," right? Like, they gotta reminisce in there, where it's like, I'm lucky I caught that break. So yeah, now I'm just tax-paying, hardworking father that just has, I guess, a nice car and good clothes from selling drugs, like, so
What advice would you tell your teenage self?
I would tell my teenage self, don't rush life. Take it slow. And you don't need to, there's nobody out here that you need to impress, right? Like, put your pride to the side and just be a good person to people.
Well, I appreciate you coming on the show today, man. You
Yeah,
did
thank
great.
you. Thank you, bro. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for telling your story.
Yes, for sure.
Awesome.